Good evening. It is Tuesday, September 16, 2025 at 6 o'clock p.m. We're going to call this meeting to order. Can I get the roll call, Ms. Corbett?
Sure can. Mayor Goodman?
I'm here.
Council President Hinds?
Here.
Vice President Cox?
Here.
Councilmember Jones?
Here.
Councilmember Martin? Councilmember Latricia? City Manager Sue Beaudet? Here. Attorney Kiersten Here. City Clerk Latricia Wright. And all other staff.
Is Latricia Wright here?
She is absent.
Oh, you just said she's here.
Absent.
Absent. Okay, I couldn't hear that.
She's on vacation.
All right. So we'll have opening prayer and pledge of allegiance to the flag, Mayor Charles Goodman. It's not working. It's not working.
I can just sit it down. Thank you, Mr. IT. Lord, we would like to, first of all, just give thanks for the glorious weather that we've had. Lord, it is truly a good thing for us to have a break from the heat and a break from the cold into this weather, Lord, that you've given us this time is basically perfect. And we thank you for it. And Lord, I'd ask you to be with each one of these council members as they make important decisions that affect the lives of every person, every citizen in our city. And I'd like you, Lord, to please, again, I'm reading the news over and over and over, and you know it. Put a hedge of protection around our police officers. Help protect them from the evil that exists out there. And our fire department, Lord, as they answer the calls trying to aid our citizens, protect them too. And all of our city workers that really work very hard, Lord, be with them as they're driving around. Help them to not get so intense and it's such a great hurry to do their job that they have an accident. And I ask you to be with all the people that showed up here tonight. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Are there any additions, deletions, changes, or approval of this agenda?
Madam President, there are two additional items, Resolution 2025-111 and 2025-112, that we would request to add to the end of the agenda.
Okay. We also need to make a modification. There's, under the consent agenda, there's a presentation by Walt Nickel from Wright that we'd like to make item C prior to resolution 2025-105 and then renumber everything after it. And resolution 2025-103 to go with it. Those two things. Are you pulling it from the
So-
agenda? From the consent agenda and
Yeah,
moving it into like the regular? Yeah.
So you're pulling it from the consent agenda and you're going to do it along with 105 and 106. Correct?
Correct. So right above that.
Okay, so changes to the consent agenda are going to be, we're going to add resolution 2025-11 and -12, 111 and 112. And then we're going to move from the consent agenda, the presentation, resolution 2025-103 to C, along with resolution 105 and resolution 106.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? If none, move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose, nay. Motion passes 4-0. All right, so now we're going to do the proclamation. Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated Day. Presentation to CEO Ms. Carolyn Looney by Mayor Goodman.
Carolyn, I have watched your office over there, and you guys do really good work, and we're thankful to have you here at City Hall. So I have a proclamation here. Whereas Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated is celebrating 44 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Alachua, Levy, and Marion counties, working to empower families. And I think that deserves a round of applause. Would you please? And whereas Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated provides a diverse array of assistance programs that support the citizens of those counties. And whereas those through essential programs such as the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, I'm not going to do that acronym, Weatherization Assistance Program, Raising and Improving Self-Sufficiency Expectations Program, Hurricane Emergency Leadership and Preparedness Program, and other comprehensive wraparound services. Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated delivers vital support that fosters hope, strengthens resilience, and improves the well-being of our communities. Whereas Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated remains a strong voice for change and an advocate for individuals and families with low income and those facing economic hardship, championing dignity and self-sufficiency. And whereas Central Florida Community Action Agency Incorporated will host its annual meeting of the Board of Directors and Partner of the Year event, October 16, 2025, at the Best Western Gateway Grand Hotel and Conference Center in Gainesville, celebrating its continued impact and community partnerships. Now, therefore, I, Charles Goodman, by virtue of the authority granted in me of the city of Williston, do hereby proclaim the day of October 16, 2025 as Central Florida Community Action Day.
Okay, at this time we'll have public participation. You have 5 minutes to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Please state your name and where you live.
I just reach people in the crowd and volunteer. I'm sorry. I'm Jacqueline Appling, Williston, Florida. I was just giving an update since our last meeting on movie night. Right now, at this point, I work with Miss Vicky and we'll work with Latricia. The date we're looking at will be October 31st. We're checking on a few other things that's happening. I've spoken. I left messages for Chief Rose and Lamar Steeple over there, Chief Steeple. So we're trying to get everything in order for the movie night. It will be the Mufasa will be the movie that we're presenting this time. Like I said, we're going to collaborate and hopefully have everything going at the same time. We're trying not to have anything separate. So we're hoping this date works. Miss Vicky and Latricia are going to work with me on that. But right now we're looking at October 31st, if that's the date. So we're checking on a few things.
You're talking Thanksgiving, you're talking Halloween night.
That is Halloween night, right?
Yeah, that's when they done the trick-or-treat, trunk-or-treat and all that. Yes and no. So we're hoping to just keep families moving. I mean, they're going to be trick-or-treating all over Williston. On the movie night, like I said last time, we had people with the game and everything. They came from the game and they came to movie night. So we can't do anything separate right now. We got a very small group, so we're hoping to do more where everything is out already. They had a police out, they have all of these things going on, but I'm working with people I'm reaching out to, and yes, it's Halloween. A lot of people gonna be out, but last time we did it up there, they moved the football game. They came over, they joined. Families enjoyed it because they didn't have to preoccupy the kids. It was done over shutdown. We cleaned up everybody went home. That's what we're hoping for. So we just have to see how things fall in place. We're starting at 6 o'clock. We're hoping at 6 to start just set up because we're going to be giving our candy and all that other stuff. Because I know I take my family out to that trick or trunk all down there. So just one more place to get candy for the kids is what we're hoping. Like I said, we're working with some things. And yes, it is Halloween. A lot will be going on, but it's just one more thing that's going to just in the community. We're also looking for hopefully an author and illustrator. You guys may know him already, Tyrone DeWooder. He's an author and illustrator. He does books, writing and selling. So he does with the school book called Tug the Penguin. So we're hoping to have him there. He will be presenting his book and costumes and all those things. He's traveling now doing. So we're hoping to have that again. He was there last movie night. So like I said, I'm working with people and working some things out, and we're hoping everything just kind of goes together. I want to update, and I will keep everyone updated. And the staff always, like I said, Latricia always helps volunteer. The staff will help with tables and chairs, and they've helped us with that in the past, and we'll just that work. Hope everybody just join in and help us make it work.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? If not, we'll move forward. So at this time, we have the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda as written with the change of moving the presentation to a different line?
As well as the addition of 2025-111 and 2025-112. I think was the motion made.
Those were added to the consent agenda.
That was the motion that was made.
Oh, I thought you wanted it at the end of
that was the original request.
Yeah,
So where do you want it?
I think we moved it to 103.
I put
I mean, we moved
the presentations to C. And I made J and K for your 111 and 112. I thought that's what you wanted.
It is. It
Okay.
just wasn't what the motion was. I thought that you all decided you didn't care, so you wanted to put it on the consent agenda.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Can I get a motion?
I would move the consent agenda as amended.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say I move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 4-0. At this time, we're going to do updates. We're going to start with City Manager, Ms. Beaudet.
Thank you, Madam President. Just have a couple quick things tonight. So I attended the Swanee River League of Cities Economic Development Workshop last Wednesday, which was very informative. One of the things that they stressed was the need to engage our staff in economic development. So tomorrow at the department head meeting, we're going to talk about the concept of putting together an economic development committee for the city. And then one of the things they've recommended is developing a list of developable land in City of Williston, things that we would be interested in, actually putting businesses on. We may even want to consider doing some sort of an economic development workshop in the future. One of the things that was a good takeaway is that they said for every $1 that a resident spends in taxes, they demand $1.40 in services. But for every $1 that a commercial business spends in taxes, they only demand 40 cents in services. Which does kind of make sense when you think about the fire assessment and the fact that the residents pay more for the fire assessment than the commercial businesses. So, the goal, of course, is to try to get some more businesses in the city, which I think everybody's in favor of. Another update on the account manager position, Selena's former position. We have interviewed 5 candidates thus far. We have one more interview scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, and then we should be able to make a decision regarding that position. And then on a personal note, I just wanted to say thank you very much to all of the staff, the city council, everybody that reached out to me. For anybody that does not know, I was supposed to be going to Greece several weeks ago on vacation, and instead I ended up in the ER and had my gallbladder removed. So, missing a body part now. But I do want to say thank you very much, because I did hear from several staff members, people that provided us with some meals and flowers, and I really, really appreciated everybody's well thoughts, and I'm feeling much better and learning what I can and cannot do. So, thank you very much.
Well, we did miss you at the fire assessment.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, we did.
All right. Attorney Biller? You have anything? Okay. Chief?
Yes. So last meeting, I believe it was, I talked to you all about receiving a grant, getting a grant for a drone. I'm happy to report that we have received a cash advance for the drone, and the drone has been ordered. I requested a second one. Once again, this is a grant that is a cash advance, so they give us the money first, and then we purchase the drone, so it's no cost out of the city's pocket. Also, I'm glad to report that some of the school zone cameras have been installed, so we're getting close. He gave me Thursday, approximately Thursday, he will have them all installed. And then we'll start our 30-day warning period. Once our 30-day warning period is over, then we move into issuing citations for speeding in the school zone. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Stigl?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to let y'all know, and I didn't have a chance to talk to my boss before I told y'all this, but I wanted to let you know tonight that Williston Fire Rescue just received a non-match grant for bunker gear to the tune of $39,448. Danny Wallace sort of led the charge on that. It is no cost to the city. It's for the personal protective equipment we wear, bunker gear.
Great job.
Great job.
Awesome.
We also have to sing because it's the fire chief's birthday. So we have to sing. I'm not leading it, but we got to sing.
Well, who gonna lead it?
I don't know. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. I know that's pretty sad, but there it is.
And many more. Oh no. All right. Any other staff? Yes, Mr. Benton.
Yes, ma'am. As most of the council and most of the room is probably aware, we had an aircraft crash over the weekend. Just wanted to give you guys an update. The FAA came out, did a preliminary investigation, said that the probable cause is more than likely engine failure. Didn't give us any reasons as to why, because it's preliminary. But the pilot walked away with scratches. From what I understand, a first responder was very close and actually met him walking out of the bushes. So, maybe
Go cheap.
yeah. So, the airplane was salvaged today and carted off of the airport on a trailer. And we're hoping to hear something back from the FAA and NTSB pretty soon.
Any other staff?
Got a couple of updates. One is that we've arranged, I believe the second week of October, we're working with the city of Stark. We're going to borrow their Vector truck again for a couple of days. The purpose primarily is to address the really big problem at 329 Southeast 3rd Ave. They've been before you before. As you've heard from Walt and I, there's not really any technology other than replacing the whole line and the whole area that allows us to do it. Walt found a material from Fernco that's just literally been produced called a POW-R wrap. It's industrial. If you think about like a cast when your arm is broken and they soak it and it's like fiberglass and it hardens, they have a waterproof version of that now. So we bought 2 kits. We're going to borrow the Vector truck and we're going to take a stab at trying to fix that and seeing if we can get the water to not be leaking. But I'm letting you know that we do have a plan in action to try and address that. The next thing is I left some photos on your dais. There are 2 pumps. If you all remember the plan from back in December, we're finally getting around to getting everything organized and arranged. The bypass pumps were put into place. That's what Fugit, the master lift station, is working on now. But if you all recall, there was 3 pumps in that station. So if you look at the picture with the newer looking pump, that is the brand new pump. It is not connected yet, but it started getting replaced today and yesterday. And so we have a couple of parts that have to be fabricated. We're hoping to have an answer on the date of that by Thursday of this week, and then hopefully a repair will be made in a short amount of time. But that is the new pump and the new motor. If you look over to the left, what we did is we had a good pump and we had a good motor, but they were split between 2. So we've disassembled those parts, and what you have on the left is the one that's still working. That is the good motor and the good pump in station 1 of that. So as you can see, that is hooked up. We've done some maintenance on the repair valves, or excuse me, the shutoff valves, and so we're hoping to put that one back online shortly, and then of course then the new one. So we'll be back up to 2 running pumps out of that 3 station once we get there. Also, the canopy is ordered to cover up the bypass pump that's out there in the sun. So I wanted to let you know that as well. At this time, Walt has a couple of updates briefly.
Donald, Walt Nickel with Wright Pierce. I just want to give you an update, a reminder, and a little bit of information. The city of Williston is located in what is called the Rainbow Springs and Rainbow River Basin Management Action Plans, or BMAP. Along with much of your surrounding neighbors, Levy County, other counties and cities are in that BMAP. The city of Williston and those other members have mandates to remove nitrogen from entering the groundwater. The city of Williston's mandate, first one comes up, milestone is in 2028 for 5,500 pounds of nitrogen per year removed, and then it's escalated to 2023, 14,000 pounds, and by 2028, 18,500 pounds. And so, that's a mandate that the city is required to meet. And we have a meeting coming up in October with DEP where they want to know our progress, updates. There's a portal where we put in your projects and the types of things that you are pursuing to do that. And that portal is open now, and we need to update that by November of this year. I do have a short little flyer about the BMAP just to keep you informed, and I'll pass that out to council. One good thing about this mandate right now, on your consent agenda that you passed today, the first 3 projects, septic to sewer for Area 1, septic to sewer for Areas 2 and 3, and then the upgrades to your wastewater treatment plant, those are all focused on meeting this BMAP. One of the biggest bangs for your buck that a community can do right now, where we're at with nitrogen, is the removal of septic systems and converting them to septic to sewer projects. That is the biggest. And on the hand I gave you, the BMAP, it shows where your contributors, and the biggest contributors at dark green, 30.3%, those are from septic systems. And so by focusing on those, you're going to get the biggest bang, the biggest lift, the biggest way to meet your requirements. So the 3 consent agendas the first 3 that you approved, those are for the engineering to do the septic to sewer projects, and that is supporting a grant that was just applied for those areas. We applied a year ago. We didn't get it, but we asked for the design and the construction. This time we've scaled it back. We're asking for the design. You get that grant for design. Now you're going to be, quote, shovel ready, and then you're in line for the big dollars, the construction dollars. So the steps you did with the consent agenda is getting you towards this BMAP. It's a big step towards that. So there's 2 septic to sewers, and there's other areas that we've identified. There's 14 areas that we've identified within the city that could be targets for septic to sewer. But this is our first step. We're taking that. So anyway, I just wanted to give you an update. There are mandates that are coming. We're going to have a meeting. Sue has been in contact via email with DEP on that, and I think October 16th is a tentative date that we'll be meeting with them, just to let them know what our progress is. So Williston's making some progress. You're asking for money. You're asking for money from the agencies who are giving you this mandate. We think it'll be a little bit more favorable this time on the ask and what we're doing. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Can I ask you a question? So how will these mandates and updates affect citizens?
Affect
cost-wise?
Well, there are substantial costs. I mean, the septic sewer for Area 1, the construction cost would be in the magnitude of $8 to $10 million to do Area 1. Area 2, I think, was $11 million for construction. So, but that, once you have the design ready, you're in a better position to ask for that grant the next round for the construction dollars. So we're pursuing grants for all this as much as we can.
So to connect the existing homeowners to that, it's going to be a part of that?
No, ma'am. You're actually looking at getting in Zone 1 about 248 new sewer customers. They're people that already have water or have electric, but they don't have access to sewer. In your Zone 2, I believe the count is 258 is how many would go on to the second zone. So altogether, if those 2 just alone were done, about 500 people would have services extended to them for the sewer. The northeast side, from 4th Ave all the way down to 10th Street, where the services stop, all of that all the way to the old middle school would all receive sewer services, and they would be able to convert and get out of their septic And the proposals and grants that we would go after the dollars to actually pay for their side and for their plumber to disconnect. So our hope would be that it's at zero cost. That also includes even sometimes the removal of the septic tanks from their property as well, all at no cost for the grant. And then we have other zones too, but those two that we're aggressively going after are about 500 new sewer customers. And many of those people are paying an accessibility fee, and they're in proximity to the sewer, and so they have to pay a small little fee anyway, so now they're actually getting service.
There are two specific DEP grant programs, and there's the one that pays for the main, and then there's another one that individual homeowners apply for. And I'm sure when we get to that point, we can assist them, and DEP would assist them, where they apply for their own individual grant to tie their house to it. So they have two programs for that. So there is money available.
All right, thank you.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, as I was reading about this, it's my understanding that this resolution or this it only goes into effect if we get the funding. So we're not going to do this unless we get the funding.
Yeah, what was on the consent agenda was for get the engineering done. But yes, there's no obligation to you.
We're not going to suddenly go to our citizens and say, well, you just need to borrow $15,000 to hook up here.
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's all contingent on the grant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other staff?
Good evening, everyone. I want to introduce myself. I'm Ralph Curry. I am the Roads, Parks, and Facilities Supervisor. I want to give some updates for the keyboard cowboys out there that like to keep bashing the condition of our parks and certain things. All the debris has been picked up in the whole city. Every pile has been picked up, with the exception of Block 12. They just laid down a bunch of trees tonight. I just saw it when I came. Okay, I'll get it tomorrow. Just wanted to point it out that if you have any problems with the condition of the parks, please feel free to call City Hall directly, and they will put you in touch with me personally. All right. This lashing out on Facebook, trying to make Sue look bad, trying to make Jonathan look bad, doesn't solve anything. Call me directly. Buck stops with me, and I'll take care of it. Okay? That's it.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Chief.
Can I add one thing to that on back of what he just mentioned? Code enforcement, as you all know, was moved over to the police department. And as of today, she is currently working 5 to 6 code enforcement violations. So, piggyback on what he's saying, we are starting to be more proactive instead of reactive.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. No one else from the staff? Anything from council? Nothing. Mayor?
Central bidding.
Oh.
A dirty subject, right?
I have a meeting. I'm coordinating a meeting right now. They don't know it, but I have sent the email regarding updating our procurement policies, just so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page regarding what the auditors wanted us to do. Just crossing T's and dotting I's before I make any more promises about when we are going to get that RTP out.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. I also was at the economic development meeting with the city manager, and I've mentioned this before, but since they also said this, and I hope you can remember it also, the way you grow your city is you grow the land that your city takes. And we have been less than diligent about getting new land. The policy, for as long as I can remember, is if you come and ask us to, then we will consider it. Well, there's better policy out there, because you can look at other municipalities that are aggressively going out to the areas around and saying, we want you in the city. You should come to the city. We would like to get you into the city instead of just sitting there waiting for somebody to say, well, gee whiz, I wonder, could I go into the city? If you look at a fine example is Archer. Their city limits have expanded way out. I mean, way out. I'm sure that those people didn't come up and say, gee, can we be part of your city? So for the council to consider, that's all this is if we want to grow our city, we need to have the land to grow it in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have nothing else. We will proceed. Item number 6 is going to be new business. Item A will be spoken about by Attorney Kiersten.
So this is the first reading of Ordinance 2025-756, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, amending Sections 2.02 and 4.02 of the City Charter and Chapter 20 of the Code of Ordinances to change the dates of city elections, to change terms of office necessitated by such change in the election dates, change in qualifying dates necessitated by such change in the election dates, providing authorization for the City Clerk to delegate election tasks and responsibilities to the Levy County Supervisor of Elections, amending the time frame for special elections in certain instances, amending qualifying procedures pursuant to Florida law, amending procedures regarding challenges, protests, and absentee ballots to comply with Florida law, providing an effective date. So, I'm sure there are lots of questions. Let me deal with a couple that I think I can answer right off the bat. The current state of Florida law is that you all are permitted to change portions of your charter regarding elections. I think everyone can remember we did this a little bit before in order to facilitate the election. You're also permitted to move forward with changing the terms of office only insofar as it's required by the change of when you're holding your elections. So this is not the ordinance that we talked about regarding changing terms of office, changing office limitations of how long you can stay in office, any of that. This is the ordinance that we're passing in order to change the portions of the charter and the portions of our ordinances, which we need to make changes to so that we can enter into the agreement that was discussed with you by the Supervisor of Elections a couple of meetings ago, where they're going to take over some of the responsibilities from Latricia, sort of help her out with the election. So these are the changes that are required for that. While we were in there, your Supervisor of Elections was kind enough to point out that there are a couple of things that are either A, not practical, or B, we haven't updated in so long that Florida law has changed on these items. So we took the liberty of just making sure that while we were in the chapter, we fixed everything up. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Essentially what this ordinance does is your charter makes your city clerk the supervisor of your elections. So we had to be a little bit careful because we can't amend that responsibility. What we can do is authorize her through the ordinances to delegate some of those responsibilities to the supervisor of elections, which is how everything has been worded in order to comply with your charter and also to allow Latricia to sort of offload some of these responsibilities as needed. Again, happy to answer any specific questions on this. As usual, attached to your ordinance is a copy of what has been changed with things that have been deleted, stricken out, and things that have been added, underlined.
Madam President, ma'am?
Sure.
Has the city clerk agreed to this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
I actually read it. I have no questions.
What? I know you're going to fall out of your chair. I know. Yeah, you did a great job. I read it, and it looked good to me. Can I get a motion? Yes, ma'am.
I make the motion we approve first reading of ordinance 2025-756.
A second.
We have a first and a second. I move to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I asked that already. Oh, I thought that. Oh. Okay, I'll do it again. Is there any discussion from the public? And no further discussion from the council, correct? Move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Bye, Tammy. Bye, Tammy. All right. So, item B, discussion and approval of contract amendment with Infomark for financial services. Financial Director Stephen Cook.
Good evening. Stephen Bloom from Infomark. The agenda item that you have in front of you would be to extend the Infomark contract another 3 years. So back in September of, I think, 2022 was the last time we did this exercise, and the current contract, the final year obviously would be September this year. So basically, just kind of to summarize it, the scope itself that you have in here is basically all the core services are the same. I've added a little bit of verbiage to confirm, obviously, the new fiber fund that is set up will be included in terms of all the accounting, any work on the audit and the construction stuff. In terms of the staffing plan,
Page 19.
in terms of staffing plan, actually putting in an additional position for a municipal accountant. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. With the growth of the city in terms of grants and now with the fiber program and just even the utility system, everything growing, just the amount of transactions that are running, even just the airport with their fuel, it's just a lot to keep up with. So I want to be a lot more timely, and I felt that was really the best way of doing it, is to add an additional position. Now, it's not a dedicated position, and what you see a lot of times with cities is it's not so much the volume, it's when everything is due. So I need to have an extra set of eyes getting into the bank recs, working on the utility systems, different things. And so I wanted to add that into the contract. In terms of fees, obviously the city has been a long-term contract for Infomark. We've been a partner for many years. Because of that, I was able to keep the year one fee the same as what you have now, what you have in your budget. Obviously, where we are in the budget, that makes sense in the process. In year 2 and 3, I did put in an annual increase to kind of cover the growth that I had mentioned in terms of fiber and different things. So your fiber program, most likely the accounting will start kicking off in January of 2026. Really, this increase for year 2 wouldn't take effect until October 1st, 2026. So all of that is kind of built into it, and that's kind of top level where it is.
Any questions?
So the new municipal accountant won't be here.
No. However, what I wanted to do is put them in Tampa. For those of you who know, we have offices in Tampa. I wanted somebody closer.
Right, that would be good. I mean, it was great when we had somebody here before who had access to your system and could pull things for us when we needed them. And we didn't have to call you so many times, too.
Right. Well, with the new software,
we
we haven't had a chance to talk about it because it took so long to get it in place. There's a lot more dashboards. That's we call it phase 2. It just allows more access for city staff or for the council to see numbers and different things on their own without requiring anybody. But yes, we want to have somebody closer to the city.
The other thing that I asked Stephen to put in here, just in the event that we decided to make a change, was on page 22, number 3, Article 5, Term 5.2 of the agreement is hereby amended to read as follows. Either party may terminate this agreement for convenience and without liability upon written notice to the other party with at least a 90-day notice in the event we decided to bring a finance director in-house at some point. So that was not in the contract previously.
I kind of like the idea of keeping it out of here. It's my preference, just because I want to make sure money's not being pulled from account to account to pay for this and pay for that. I happened to trip into overhearing a conversation where we were going to pull money from the what I like to call the emergency fund that was set up. That's not the name of it. And they were going to use some of the money out of it. And that was not, I think I talked to you about.
It's the stabilization
Yeah.
for electric is probably what you're referring to, and no.
So,
That, by the way, that was used to help with the rates for the last month. Meaning that's the purpose of it, is to keep, to help with the utility bills.
This is the fund that the previous city manager set up.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'd much rather keep it with you. That's my feeling is on it. I don't know about the other ones. I don't like that we can just terminate it with the 90-day thing.
It was requested. What I will say, because of the complexity of the city, it would be tough to transition in 90 days, but I think the idea is to to give the city the flexibility. Like, for example, right now, with the audits having to be prepared, it'd be tough to do it in 90 days. We'd work with you either way, but yeah.
I'm more worried about them wanting to leave in 90 days.
Yeah, doesn't this is a two-way street, right?
Yes, sir.
In 90 days, he can dump us.
Yes, sir. I would be more worried about that. Because you're right, they would be hard to replace in 90 days.
I'd have to. We'd have to pull it from the fireworks budget, Mr. Mayor.
Right now, it's just discussion. Okay, so for me to be clear, I thought you said you were interviewing for account managers.
Selena's position.
Oh, okay. Totally different.
Totally different.
Okay. I was like,
no. I just normally any contract that I've ever been a part of in the past has always had an out. I mean, I'm not saying that we are planning on doing this. It's just to cover in the event something. 3 years is a long time. A lot of things can change in 3 years. So that was the only reason I asked. Again, you guys can take it off if you want, but I've never had a contract where it wasn't out for either party. So it wasn't in there before. That's the reason I asked you to put that in.
Yeah. Well, maybe the out shouldn't be such a short amount.
It could be longer. I mean, I originally said 30 because that's what most things said, and then Stephen and I was like, Sue, there's no way we can transition.
Stephen, you planning to go anywhere?
No. Like I said, this was for the flexibility of the city. We used to do 1-year contracts for many years, and we stopped doing that because we didn't want there to be either a door being able to be open.
Right.
But it's pleasure, obviously, the council. What I will say is, 90 days we can put it in there, no problems. But if that were to occur, I would say, look, I want to make sure you guys, whoever's new, has training. I mean, trying to train in 90 days.
It'd take us 90 days.
That would be tough. Like I said, it's flexibility of the city. And, if you want to move it to 6 months,
I'm all for dropping out the 90-day thing, and just let's stick with the 3-year contract. You've done us well, and I'd like to see
you can do whatever. You can do 8 months. I mean, again, it was all for flexibility of the city.
So if we took it out, you're okay with it?
I'm okay with it. I would have to get it approved because it's a contract that Mark would have to sign. Okay, so that's the only caveat to that.
I don't want to upset the apple cart here, but I will say it is not that I think we're going to have this issue with Infomart, but a 3-year contract is a long period of time, and it may be beneficial to have an out before 90 days, or before 3 years. So just something to consider. It is a very standard term, especially if you have over a year. You typically have some period of less than 1 year of ability to terminate the contract. It doesn't have to be 90 days. It can be at you all's will. If we think 6 months is more reasonable, then that's fine. But I would say that it is advisable from a legal perspective to have an opportunity to out before the end of 3 years.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it, at the end of the first year, you have the flexibility, and the end of the second year, you have
You do not.
No,
It's a 3-year contract.
Yes, it's in the contract that after 12 months, either side can terminate.
That is not correct.
It's an automatic renewal right now.
The term of the contract is 3 years. So
Yes.
so
And
there's-
we're talking about making it in 3 months. You can announce in 3 months we're leaving. That's what this is talking, right? That's what it's saying.
That's how
That's what it's saying. And there's no difference between making it 3 months and 12 months, except the time frame.
Yes. I'm not sure that I understand the question. If the question is, could we make the term year to year, and is that the same as a 12-month?
I would say 6 months.
Okay.
Simply changing 3 months to 12 months.
You could absolutely do that.
Yeah. Of course you could. They could.
It's up to you all.
but
I
it's
wouldn't
not-
advise having something less
But
than
it's
3 years.
not an opportunity after each year. That's right. It's only after 12 months. You can't then
Right. That
go
was after
another
36
year
months.
and say, okay, well, now we're going to terminate. It has to be.
The way I'm interpreting it is, let's say 3 months from now, you wanted to terminate it, and 12 months from that 3 months you could. So whenever you decide, there'd be a 12-month grace period, in other words, before the contract ended. So if you wanted to wait, like the mayor said, 1 year from now, then that really becomes, then it's a 2-year contract.
No, the contract remains untouchable in its entirety.
But if you
Only if we
elect to
did that.
terminate it in 12 months,
I didn't say that. Please understand, I am simply saying there's no difference between 3 months and 12 months for a period that you can consider neither side is accepting the way things are going and they want to terminate. The only difference is instead of 3 months, it's 12 months. That's the only difference I am suggesting to the council. Not the contract, not anything else. It's a really simple thing. So that you're not sitting there after 3 months trying to change.
So if we
Finance.
say 90 days, then that still gives you guys how much room?
90 days.
I say
Is
remove it
totally
to a
90
6
days?
to a 6
I thought he said it was
month
12
notice.
months after.
No, that's a different.
That was
Oh, that
his
was something
proposal.
different. Okay.
I would propose a 6 month notice. 6 month notice.
I would agree.
Oh, you,
She said she would agree.
I would put that in the form of a motion. Yes, that we approve the Infomart contract, the 3-year contract with a 6 month notice for termination for either party.
Got a motion? Got a second. Any further discussion? Any discussion from the public? Any further discussion from the council?
Yeah, see, to me, it's all about trust. I got to be able to trust the people up here to be able to make our financial decisions. I don't have that.
Okay.
So I like the fact, with him, I understand how long we got to have, an out or whatever, but that's not saying that in 3 months because we want to get out of it and we're just going to tell them, hey, we're going to go with our own.
Right. So you're certainly not required to terminate it in 3 months or 6 months or any period of time. Absolutely.
Like I said, for me, it's about trust. I don't have that. So I'm fine with extending the contract for the 3 years, but not the else.
However, we do have a motion on the floor.
We are
There's
aware.
some discussion.
He's discussing. Anyone else? All right. So All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All those who oppose, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1.
Thank you. Correct. Yep, I'm sure they will.
Okay, so now we will go to item C, resolution. Relax. Hold on a second. We are. Just give me a second. All right, so we're going to do resolution 2025-103. I thought there's more information on it. And resolution 2025-105 and 2025-106 together.
Walt's doing his presentation first, correct? Yes. Okay.
Push. He said it was going to be
After his presentation.
Oh, yeah. Clarity. Need clarity. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. There's a PowerPoint presentation. Vicki, is that available, or is it just?
We do have it on our desk. That looks like here.
Okay. No. Okay. So you have hard copies of? Yeah. Okay. All right. And I saw there were some for the audience. Okay. Thank you. All right. I have a presentation I want to talk to you about City Williston floodplains. This is kind of a bit of a historical endeavor, and the resolution that's going to follow is all tied to this. So I want to make sure you understand, give you the background, where we're going with this. Page 2 of the handout has some historical information for you. The Southwest Florida Water Management District funded a series of stormwater reports for the city of Williston. They were conducted by Jones, Edmonds & Associates. They prepared 4 reports. The floodplain analysis report, that was in 2017, a level of service analysis report in 2018, a surface water resources assessment report in 2018, and an alternatives analysis in 2019. These reports were presented, when they were completed, were presented to the council back in 2018 and 2019. There was a series of meetings. They were presented to be adopted, and at that time, council chose not to adopt the studies that were done. The studies, and the first one that's listed there on that page, a floodplain analysis report, the key takeaway of that was it looked at flooding areas, potential flooding areas within the city, and they developed maps and information regarding those areas. And if you were to, on the next page, there's a diagram that's labeled current FEMA floodplains. So if you were to go to the FEMA flood studies, and what's available right now is official floodplains within the city of Williston, this is what you would see, is this figure. Those blue areas, and if you kind of look at the center part of 2741, there are 5, maybe 4 if you want to count, floodplain areas indicated. That's what's official floodplains within the city of Williston. If you go to the following page, predicted floodplains, these were the flood areas that were predicted to be flooding in the city of Williston. This study, funded by SwiftMud, conducted by Jones Edmonds, goes through some very rigorous peer reviews. SwiftMud has a standard operating procedure of how the reports are done. They get an independent review. They go through a very accurate process to develop these. I have not, in my experience here in Williston, found any fault in what they were predicting here in these maps. What they predict, you've had problems, we've seen problems, there's evidence of problems, but this is what that study predicted, that you would have flooding. These are the 100-year, 24-hour floods. And so all those colored areas on the map are what would be really flooding susceptible properties. But that was back in 2018-19. Council chose not to do anything with that. But you do have that information. It's good information. It's what we would call best available data. out there. But right now it's not an official FEMA floodplain. So what are the effects of not adopting that? Property owners are not subject to mandatory flood insurance because it's not a official floodplain, so they don't have to get flood insurance at all. There's less development restrictions on undeveloped land, again, because it's not an official floodplain. There are rules and regulations that you have to follow if you're going to build in a floodplain. Just because a study said it's not a FEMA floodplain, so there's less restriction. Property owners may not realize that they're in a flood-prone area by not publishing this and adopting it. I mean, this study is available if you know where to look. An engineer would know where to look. Your regular homeowner is not going to know where to look for that sort of thing. FEMA grants or loans are less available for properties that are not in the flood zones, and other federal and state grants are not available to those properties if they're not in the official flood zone. There still are, but it becomes more difficult. And formalizing FEMA floodplains become known to the property stakeholders. That's the owners, the purchasers, the banks, the insurance companies, everybody. It's information that's out there. Just ignoring it doesn't make the problem go away. So this is some of the things what can happen if you don't adopt these as floodplains. So what we're recommending to you as engineers for the city that we do adopt these as FEMA floodplains. And the proposal, resolution 2025-03, is going to go through that process on how to do that. I'll talk a little bit about it. But I'll show you too, it's a little bit of a lengthy process. So we're recommending there's two options that you can do. Option one, the simplest, doesn't have all the weight that I think you need, but it could be done, is to adopt an ordinance that requires any land development within the city, new buildings or building modifications, to account for those floodplains that are in the report, even though they're not official FEMA floodplains. Pass an ordinance to say, we have this study, here's the map, these are flood-prone areas, and then you can develop restrictions where you can't fill them in without providing compensation. You can't, fill it in and then it floods your neighbor next to you. There's language that could be developed to do that. So you have to compensate if you do something, or you have to avoid it. By doing that, it gives property owners notice about a flooding potential. They come in for a building permit or a modification. You have an ordinance that has to be addressed. It gets them, they're notified. It does not make them eligible for subsidized flood insurance, though. It's not a FEMA flood. But it does, it would help prevent causing more problems with stormwater and flooding as development comes into those areas. And then this ordinance would be enforced by the city. It's your ordinance. It's not a federal, state ordinance. It's the city of Williston. So enforcement of it is going to be your responsibility to do that. So that would be option one. Option two is you formally make those flood-prone areas FEMA flood zones. We reached out to SwiftMud about this. They paid for this funding. They were a little bit disappointed that it never went further. I've heard that from officials over there. They paid for a study. They kind of wanted to see something good come out of it. And nothing did. So I reached out again, and the timing was good. In August of this year, they opened a new grant window, and I told them about this project, this need, and they said this grant is specifically kind of targeted for this type of thing. And so the grant window is open right now. Grant applications close October 3rd at 5 p.m. So there is a very good chance, since they funded the first part of this, that they would fund this again. And then you would go through the process of taking that study, updating it for the new developments that have occurred. You've got all the businesses that have developed on Noble Road, the subdivisions that have come in. We update those, rerun the maps and so forth. And then we have to go through, there's a set FEMA process of getting the flood maps accepted by them and adopted. There's 4 flood panels that cover the city of Williston. Those 4 panels would be updated, and they would then become official flood maps. So that is option 2. And I've given on the slide, there's some information about the grant that we're pursuing. It's fiscal year 2027 Cooperative Funding Initiative. And it's basically the people we talked to in the webinar we attended. You're in a good position to get a grant to do that. It does not appear to have any funding requirements by the city to do that. I do want to point out on page 9 of the handout that you have the 2027 timeline. So October 3rd is the deadline for the applications. You can see all the various steps that are going to happen. We just go to the very last square on the bottom. October 2026 is when contracts would be awarded. So you're looking for this whole process of applying and then getting is a 1-year process. So before anything can even happen is a year. You know probably midway if you're successful, but it's a year to get this grant. So this is going to take a while. Then we have to do the updating of the maps and the modeling and go through FEMA. That could be a 2-year process to get through all that and get through FEMA. And I do want to, page 10, I'll go through. FEMA right now subsidizes some of the flood insurance. Higher valued properties pay a little bit more, undervalued, lower valued properties pay a little bit less. It helps even out the burden. Right now, subsidies are still available if suddenly they create a floodplain map where it wasn't before, the people had no idea. So they do give higher subsidies to the people who get insurance in those. We're almost in that situation. We have all these areas where there's no floods. We are going to show that there's floods. So I think there's a good chance that the residents could still get that subsidy. They are trying to, it's called Risk Rating 2.0 is an initiative they have where they're trying to phase out those subsidies, but they always still take into account the impacts to the people. They know if they don't provide the subsidies, people aren't going to do it. They're not going to get insurance. They're going to get damaged, and they're trying to get people to participate. So there is still a level of subsidies, though they're being reduced. If you do just the option 1 with a city ordinance, there's no subsidies. They can get their own insurance if they could get it, but they're not qualified for FEMA insurance by default. If you do option 2, they can get the insurance. So our recommendation to you go through is that at a very minimum, you do option 1. I think we can fairly easily create an ordinance that has some teeth for you to enforce, and you pursue the grant to do option 2, because that's a year before you get the grant and 2 years of working through FEMA to get the floodplains adopted. So you've got protection in that 3 years with at least your ordinance. Again, now that ordinance, you're the enforcer of it. Once you have the FEMA floodplains, the enforcer is still you, but it's also the water management districts and FEMA. You've got a lot of teeth behind it. You got a lot of requirements. The residents are going to have some protection. The city's going to have some protection. So we recommend that you do both. There's the Band-Aid where you can at least prevent people from moving into an area or building in an area where they don't know that they have a flooding potential, and we don't want that to happen. So that gives you that, or it gives you some control so they can't modify it and cause harm somewhere else in the city. So that is our recommendation, that you do both. So then what follows is Resolution 2025-103. This is a proposal from Wright Pierce that would do the modeling updates and then go through the SwiftMud project, apply for the grant loan for them, do the modeling, and then work with FEMA, getting the FEMA maps updated and so forth. So that is that proposal. The grant window, we're working on that grant application now to get ready. It's due October 3rd. This, by city approving this resolution, shows your commitment to SwiftMud, that you're willing to go forward with this. I do want to advise, the city opted in 2018 not to do anything. If that were to occur again after you've applied for the grant and got the grant, it may be difficult to get other grants from SwiftMud. If you ask, they funded one and then you didn't do anything, you have another opportunity to go forward and you don't do anything, it could put the city in a bad position. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing that. So if we apply for this grant, got to have a commitment that we're going to go forward with it. I mean, people might be upset with it. Some people, now I'm in a floodplain. Well, you always were. And we just need to make sure we have the protection for those people. And adopting these as a floodplain allows them to get some insurance. Because the reality, it's there. By not adopting, it doesn't change the reality. The flooding is there. So we recommend pursuing both options. Our proposal lets us move forward on option 2 to apply for the grant. It's a 1-year process. I would imagine within 6 months we'll have an idea how well you're faring, but it's a year to get to that. Into that time frame. So that's our recommendation. Any questions? I know this one could be, a little bit of a difficult decision to do, but our recommendation as engineers, I mean, we've got flooding. We've had people come here complaining about floods before you on certain areas within the city. Some of those areas are in these predicted flood zones. They're there. It's information that's out there. And adopting this could help find a way to get fixes for this too. Questions?
Any questions from the public?
Yeah, I have concerns because they did the thing in Bronson and your insurance does go up and he can say whatever he wants. And if you look at that map, there's no way them are all flood zones. I got a lime rock pit behind me. It would have to come up 70 feet before it would ever flood. It's not happening. I don't believe that.
Anyone else? Council have any questions?
And those are my concerns too, and I don't know who's got the answers to the questions. I believe we need to do it. At least option 1. If we adopt the map of the predictive flood areas, I have concerns too that does that then make them ineligible for flood insurance on the regular homeowner's insurance? And they have to buy flood insurance? Is that the case? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
I don't know if I can with certainty say that. If they're in a floodplain, they are eligible for federal insurance.
Right.
On the private market, I'm not sure.
But it doesn't exclude them from having regular water damage on a normal insurance policy.
No, it doesn't.
Would it throw them out and so that they had to buy flood insurance?
So I'll address this since I've been a licensed insurance agent for 15 years.
There you go.
So homeowners policies do not cover flood insurance. Never do. That is something you have to buy separately. If you have a mortgage and you are not in a flood zone, you can buy it. I have it on my house in Newberry. I'm not in a flood zone, but I purchased it anyway because, as we used to say, the entire state of Florida is a flood zone. We're all in this is a peninsula. However, if you are in a flood zone and you have a mortgage, you will have to buy flood insurance. Yes. And usually you can buy it through NFIP, which is this, the standard version, which is cheaper. They also have options to go to what's called an excess and surplus lines, which is the non-admitted market, which is usually a little more expensive, but will give you better coverage. So you can usually have some sort of an option, but my biggest concern not having this in place is that of all the residents that I meet with in my office, flooding is probably the biggest concern here in Williston. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. Walt has been in these meetings with me, Donald, Jonathan. I mean, that is probably the biggest concern that I get. So I'm concerned that people are moving here, buying properties, not knowing that they are in a flood zone. They don't purchase the flood insurance, and now all of a sudden they've got flooding, and they don't have any recourse because they don't have insurance.
Because we have this analysis of this report already, is there a way to limit it, or we have to adopt the whole thing? I mean, if there are areas that we don't believe will flood or have ever flooded.
Well, I said Swiftmouth has a very rigorous process.
So we
do
have to
these
do the whole
studies. I mean, they have criteria how you do it,
right?
The software that's done, the level of detail that is done. They are independently peer reviewed by another engineering firm that goes through, and they have a set process they go through, and Swiftmouth reviews it. They have a set protocol. I mean, you have to look at the drainage basin. Where's the water coming from? That defines what you look at. The figure shows a lot of floodplains outside the city, but that's because that's the contributing drainage area.
Right.
So you look at that drainage area, not just a quadrant of the city or the city boundaries. You have to look at the drainage area. So you're looking at that. Now, we would only be adopting what is within your jurisdiction. We can't do in the unincorporated areas. That would have to be Levy County doing that. And, I mean, they are doing that in some areas, too. But you would be looking to adopt what is within your jurisdiction.
If you wanted to fight something on this map with all of these purple areas on here, we would have to show SwiftMud a reason as to why we think that, this particular area does not.
That's essentially what the county's doing right now. Correct. They're trying to opt out in certain areas.
I mean, if there's elevation information that's better or the inaccuracy, absolutely, it would be looked at, taken into consideration. But of the areas where we've had flooding issues and problems, they really pretty much conform to what we've been seeing here in these maps. Some of the big areas, I haven't seen substantial fault on any of this, and it does go through a very rigorous analysis.
Mr. Barber.
Yes, ma'am. 2 points that I think should be very important for the council to hear. One is that when people look at this map, unfortunately, one of the things that they look at in layman's terms is, does this map say that I live in a bowl? And the answer to that question is no. Some of those spots are not bowls. So people look at that map and go, well, I shouldn't be in a flood area. What they forget, and our techs and ourselves that have worked here for a while do really understand, not from an engineering perspective, but from an excavation perspective, is we have a vastly different soil base in this area to many other areas. I live simply 10, 11 miles east of here. I can go in my yard and go 30 feet down and hit nothing but sand. Here in the city of Williston, you guys have terrible percolation. So you have to remember that it's not necessarily a bowl. It has to do with soil content. I would point your attention to John Henry. We had change orders on John Henry when that project was done because we underestimated the depth of the soil that we had to excavate from that pit because we couldn't get to soil that would percolate. So I just want to point that out, that when people look at this map and they go, oh, well, I don't live in a bowl. This map's wrong. It has nothing to do with that sometimes. It sometimes just has to do with soil content. So that's a very important thing to understand. The second thing is there is litigation, not with us right now, but there is litigation across this town about this very subject. And we have to be really careful where we go in the future with this, because someone is in the future going to say, I wasn't properly warned. And they are going to, at some point, put that target on the citizens of this town. And so I really recommend, I strongly recommend, that you all do option 2, because that's the option that puts the liability on the state and not on the city.
Can I speak? I don't know if anybody's listening.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. It's Meredith.
Sorry, I'm at home with the sick dog, but I just want to say that I really strongly, as somebody who's purchased a house recently in Williston, if I found out suddenly that, I was in a flood zone and a subdivision came in down the road and similar to CLE, elevated their ground and all of a sudden changed the way the water went, and I was now in that flood zone and my house had no more value because it was constantly flooding. That would be, I mean, a home is the biggest investment that a person usually makes in their life. And I think we have an obligation to the citizens to let them know if they are in a flood zone so that they don't lose that invested value in the future. And I do understand that for people who are, you know, being added into a current flood zone or upgraded, I guess, into a flood zone, that does affect possibly the value of their home. But if they have a history of no flooding, then it shouldn't. And if they have a history of flooding, they should probably disclose that. And yes, it certainly adds costs. And if you have a mortgage, you're required to buy that. But that's a very different amount than losing the ability to sell your home because it now floods because we didn't do our homework and we didn't, you know, respect the floodplains and the engineering that showed that this will be, if we have development over here, one street over, this is now going to flood. That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
I'll point out one more thing because I know everybody likes to think that FEMA's, you know, the ones that's going to save everybody, and that's really not the case. So if you have a home that is damaged by flooding and you do not have a flood policy, FEMA is not going to save you. Just FYI. They may give you a loan or something like that. Like I think it's like $5,000. It's a very small amount. But if you've got, 4 feet of water in your house, and I'm sure that probably would not happen here in Williston, but, you know, the people in Cedar Key that had 4 feet of water in their home without flood insurance, they did not have a recourse. FEMA is not coming to save them. I know people like to think that FEMA is just going to come in with a big check. It's not what happens. They help the people that have flood insurance first.
My other comment was there's probably some other areas we now need to add to this map.
Well, we would do, there would an update would be done.
Yeah.
The latest LiDAR elevation data. There's additional field work where we're going to actually go out, hire Steve McMillan to go out and get hard elevations of pipes and inverts and areas that are susceptible. We would do that also. Also some drone analysis that we would do and photography. So we would refine. The map would be refined from when this was done in 2017. Probably started in 2016.
Things have changed a lot.
So so it would be updated to reflect all that, and new elevations where things have changed would be obtained. So we would try to refine it. We would refine it. It would be part of the process.
So the recommendation is to adopt one right away and proceed to option 2.
Yeah. And option 2 is the time-dependent grant application. The window is open now to apply for the money to do this. There's no guarantee. It sounds favorable. Like I said in my discussions, it sounds like you're positioned well. But the deadline is October 3rd to apply. And it's a 1-year process before you'd even have the agreement. But I would recommend applying. That's option 2.
And to clarify, what he means by that is it's like if you guys go back to your CDBGs, you have to have public hearings and certain things. The letter and the resolution that he's talking about is contingent on the application. We will not receive the points without the commitment to move through. They want to know if they award the money that there's a will to move forward. Otherwise, they don't want you to be in consideration. So it's similar to that CDBG, just saying, do you have that commitment?
Have time to do that between now and October 3rd?
We're working on it.
Sounds like a special meeting in the works.
I think we've worked on 7 or 8 grants, and there's 3 or 4 more in process. I can give you an update at the end of the other ones that we're going after.
So if we decide to go with option 2, but not option 1, then how does that affect people moving in and construction and things of that nature?
I recommend both options because you can do option 1 quickly, easily, but you're the enforcer of it. It doesn't get anybody insurance, but it gets them. They understand that there's rules and regulations. You can put some restrictions on that. Adopt an ordinance where they can't lose floodplain storage by filling it in, because if you fill that in, it's like squeezing a balloon. It's going somewhere else.
So how do you know that they're doing that?
Well, when they come in for permits, we have an ordinance that says, here's this floodplain, there's 4 manuals, 4 reports. You have to abide by this. This has a map. This shows this is a potential flood. You can't fill that in unless you dig a hole somewhere else. We're going to treat it as if it's a FEMA floodplain from the city's perspective.
Madam President, think about it like a bus. If you're asking for a bus to be ordered, are you trying to fill up and place an order for a bus that has 20 passengers or 50 passengers? So when they come in for a permitting process, currently they look at the adopted plans that are here, and they only have to design to the limits of what that is. But if those limits change and are more restrictive because of their environmental impact to surrounding properties, then they have to plan further in depth when they develop and make sure that they're less of a harm on anything surrounding. So it's just kind of the difference of, like I said, having 20 passengers in the bus or having 50 passengers in the bus. And that's really what it's about.
Right. I'm just wondering how you would really know that they abided by
We review those not only during the submittal of the permits, but we also review those as it's being built to make sure that it's done to the standard that's designed.
Okay.
So now, as part of any developer's agreement, Wright, Pierce, the engineers, and the city staff go in and we actually monitor construction. So we're actually, like, for example, on the townhomes, we are doing regular inspections. They notified us that next week they're putting in a water main. We will have someone there to make sure that the bedding and the application of that water pipe is to the plans and the design that was submitted and approved. So that's the point, is if they design to a higher standard, then we can hold them to that. But if they don't have to design to a higher standard and there's a problem down the road, remember that the city gave them permission to do that. So if anybody's upset about it, they're not going to the person that built it, they're going to the people that approved it. And so that's why we would like to make sure that there's better restrictions on some of that development.
Okay, thanks.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Donald, in referring to this, has just referred to developers. Does this mean that there's no observation of individuals that would cause these problems?
No, sir. No, sir. But, plans for 58 townhomes or 98 single-family residences obviously is a lot more thorough of a process than, let's say, another developer that we currently have putting up 2 duplexes. We absolutely do those inspections. But usually that's the staff providing information to be reviewed by engineers. We don't necessarily have them actually have an engineer on site. For these larger developers, they actually have to pay the cost for the engineers to themselves be on site and be part of that process almost on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So has Bronson done this? Do you know?
It's the first ordinance I passed when I was the town manager in 2021.
Okay, so does it impact insurance rates?
Rates?
Well, right.
Not rates, it's whether or not you have to buy the flood insurance.
Okay.
That's the issue. So again, if you have a mortgage, and again, we're only talking about people with a mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to do anything. But if you have a mortgage and you are in a flood zone, if we pass this map, then they will be required to get flood insurance.
By their lender.
The lender, yes, you will not be able to close without it, correct?
If they're in one of these areas.
Correct.
Is there a bigger map that shows the exact locations and the city limits itself?
I think there's 4 or 5 large full-size ones floating around the office.
This one doesn't show us a whole lot.
Yeah,
I realize
it's for a
not
presentation.
the point. I realize the point is we need to do all of them.
Yeah, we've got, I know,
no matter
I've
where they are.
provided them for planning. They said, here, somebody comes in and have this. So there's 4 or 5, and we can have some additional ones. The ones that was in the original Jones-Evans report, the coloring was just not popping. We colorized this one so that you can really see the areas. We've provided copies, full-size maps. We can provide more if you need them.
So what are the orange and the yellow and the white and the blue? Just for fun of it.
The greenish ones are that's less than 1 foot of depth flooding. It's flooding, but less than a foot.
Okay.
The purplish ones are, they call level pools. They're depressional areas that flood.
Those are the
more than a
problems.
foot. Yeah, those are the big problems. And then you got some blue transition zones. If it gets high enough, it'll flow from one basin to another basin.
Okay.
And then they're interconnected on that. And the yellow are estimated based on information that they got. It may not have been reflected in the modeling itself, but there was evidence of flooding when they did their QC of the reports. So I guess what we're asking before you today, I wanted to give you information that was with this. And then the follow-up is a resolution for us to defines what it's going to cost to do this and ask SwiftMud for this amount of money to do this work and that you get a grant to do that. And so so the resolution before you, resolution 2025-103, is again the ask.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion we approve resolution 2025-103.
I'll second it with both options.
Well,
we're just giving him approval to ask for the money.
Yeah, the
So
option.
we don't need the option right
We would
now.
come back to you
Okay.
with option
All
one
we're
if
doing
that's
is
your.
letting him apply for the grant.
Sorry, Kathy, you need to talk
Okay, so you don't mean to do one first, so it's in place for the 2 years until it takes us to get the other one.
I'm sorry. I thought this resolution was just us allowing you to apply for the grant.
Yes.
So
and establish how much
do we
you
need
need
the options?
to ask
I don't know.
FEMA
I guess
for.
we need to do that.
No,
too.
the option, we would come back to you if you so desire, and you would like us to prepare or Kiersten to prepare, and we can help her, someone to prepare an ordinance
That's gotta be
for
an ordinance,
option
yeah.
one.
Right.
That can be another matter. We recommend you do that, but you do that soon because that can go much faster than the adopting a flood. So that's the first step. It gives protection, gives notice to the people. We can come before you in another meeting, or if you so direct us to do that, or Kiersten, an ordinance can be adopted.
I think where the confusion got in was if he goes forward and the city applies for this and they're awarded it, and at that point we haven't implemented or talked about or agreed to implement option 1 or 2, you can refuse that grant. But what he's warning, and I've heard the same thing from SwiftMud, is that the option of ever getting funding, and not just for this floodplain map, I mean any funding whatsoever for any project from SwiftMud will probably be for generations over. So that decision doesn't have to be made now whether or not you pursue option 1 with an ordinance, option 2 for adopting the floodplain map and whatnot. What this resolution, to Ms. Riccio's point, is absolutely true, is it's just to give them permission to apply. We just wanted to give you that explanation so that you made that decision in an informed capacity, because to apply for this and refuse it will have serious consequences, and so that's why we presented it that way.
So we need to make a commitment.
You're taking the step in that direction, a strong step.
Madam President, I have a
Well,
question.
if we're going to vote for them to do that, then we've already made that commitment. The next step is the ordinance.
Well,
There's
no guarantee you're getting the grant. There is no.
Okay.
You're in a good position for it, though. I from my discussion with them, you're in a good position. They were thrilled, the people I talked to, when I asked, what's out there to adopt this? Is there money available? And yes, it was ironic. A week later, they said, in a week, we're opening up this grant opportunity.
Council would really have a good probably 3 to 5 months to really, bite down on this, while they're in the decision-making process. So there's more information that we can provide on that, but we just wanted, again, to present the option and make sure you understood that there could be a consequence to being awarded it and then not fulfilling the process.
Yeah, obviously notice to the public and some maps that really show the real thing.
Yeah, we can come back with full-size maps, have them on the easel and so forth, or keep them in the lobby.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Did I or did I not hear you say something about that there is a sunset on the, and it was like October
The deadline to apply, October 3rd.
October 3rd?
Yes.
So we only have one more council meeting before then.
We
I don't
have
even
any.
think we have one.
This is
This
it?
is
This
it.
is
I
it.
think
you-
it's October
yeah,
7th.
if
That's
you-
our next meeting.
If you approve this resolution, it's showing your commitment that you do want to go forward. It gives us some extra points when we apply. We can say we're going to attach this proposal in the resolution that council is looking to go forward with this and apply for this grant. It helps. You're not in the construction project says shovel ready. This is a planning study. So it's not the same, but it's showing that you do want to move forward.
But
it's
it is now or
Oh
not.
yeah, yeah. Will they have this again next year? I don't know. It's available now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess we're moved to votes. All those in favor, say aye.
Was there
Aye.
a second?
There was.
I didn't.
All those opposed, nay. Did you say aye to something? I did. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I didn't hear you. That's why I'm looking. I'm like,
Sorry.
she's still thinking.
I really
don't think we have any choice. I really don't. I'm not really excited about it, but I really don't think we have any choice. I think we really, to protect the I didn't hear you.
future property owners, I think we need to let them know.
So once again, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.
Next.
Next. 105.
I'll read both of the next resolutions just so that we can loop them all into one. This is resolution number 2025-105, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving Williston Southeast Area water main replacements. Option B, proposal from Wright Pierce, authorizing appropriate parties to sign such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date. And then you are also considering resolution number 2025-106, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving Williston Southeast Area water main replacements. Option A, proposal from Wright Pierce, authorizing appropriate parties to execute such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
So the city's been having severe waterline problems in the southeast quadrant of the city. We've had residents with a leak that's been going on for years and years. It's in that area. The pipes are small, undersized, deteriorating. Can't even get parts for some of the joints. You've heard Donald talk about that before. So we look at that. We have applied in June. This was lumped into some grant money that was for Hurricane Helene and Milton. Without having direct damage, we're not getting favorable comments right now on those grants, but we did apply for those. I think there's a big pot, and maybe there might be some grants for this, but right now it's not looking favorable. But the city asked us; they're having problems out there. They need a proposal to fix this, to do the engineering. So we provided two. There's we call it option B is the smaller version. It's about 1,000. Actually, it's about 3,000 feet of water main that would be replaced.
3,000 feet.
3,000 feet.
Wow.
That's the small.
That's wonderful.
And so we provided an engineering proposal to do that. Option A is Resolution 106. That is 11,500 feet of water mains in that whole quadrant. So basically the whole southeast quadrant, from Main Street over to 4th, 6th, beyond Noble and south there's figures in attached with each one of those. So we're presenting to you 2 proposals for the engineering and design. There's no imminent grant available right now to fund this at this point. But there's the smaller, there's the larger. You could approve the smaller, you could approve the larger, you could approve neither. But there is a need. Staff has asked us to prepare these proposals. What can we do to remedy this? So we've got that. And I am going to talk about just some other things we're pursuing here in the next couple weeks. There is the USDA RD loan application. We've been in contact with them. Several meetings. We've been preparing, trying to wrap our brains around what the scope is going to be. But they do have, long-term, I think it's 30-year, can even be up to 40-year, long-term, low-interest loans that right now we're talking to them about the Curl, Ninth Circle lift station abandonment, the Homestead lift stations in dire shape that could be included, and possibly in Block 12, we've got the area set aside in utility stub for a restroom, like a prefab restroom to go there. That would, right now we were in talks with staff about applying for that. I mean, that would come to you here in the next month or two before you for approval on that. But that is an avenue that this possibly could be added to as we talk with RD. It would fit their criteria. In addition to the USDA RD, there's some equipment purchases too. A fire truck has been on the list, and there was an auger truck that people have been asking about. That will come to you officially. But these 2 resolutions, 105 and 106, the larger, the smaller, you can pick one, the smaller, the larger, or none. There's a need. Do we have a funding mechanism? I don't have anything to present to you on a grant front for these 2 at this point, other than the USDA RD one.
Yes, Madam President. I just wanted to talk about these areas specifically. A lot of people don't know what goosenecks are. Back a long time ago, as the city was growing and they were getting initial water services on, you'd have really small mains that would be built, like let's say a 2-inch main, and they considered it the main. It went right down the street and it serviced all the houses. And as the city grew and we grew in wells and new lines were put down, and by new I mean those ones are 40 years old, they would be maybe 6-inch lines or 8-inch lines. And what would happen is because the 2-inch lines were already basically powered up, is when they put the new lines in, instead of paying to reconnect those directly to the well and go the full length of water supply to water distribution points, instead they would take these little tiny 1-inch lead encased goosenecks, and they would say if it's a 2-inch line supplying a 6-inch main, they would put 6 of those goosenecks from that 2-inch into the 6-inch, and that's how it was fed water. Now, obviously, as you all know, we did a lead service line industry a year ago. We met the deadline because of the Florida Rural Water and also Wright Pierce. But that was simply a lead service line inventory on the customer's water meters and their side. That was not on our distribution mains. So the issue is I can't buy lead, and it's a good thing. I shouldn't buy lead goosenecks and replace those. But over time, we have areas of the southeast section of town that are running out of ways to connect the supply lines to our distribution lines. And except doing very expensive taps on lines that are already too brittle, we're going to, at some point down the road, if we keep kicking the can, are going to be to a place where we have possible areas and neighborhoods that we cannot supply clean water to. And so I want to make sure that you understand how serious this situation can become. One of those is, for example, as we mentioned earlier tonight, there's where a 4-inch is seeded into a 6-inch and it's packed with lead, and we have no repairable fix on that other than hopefully replace the line or try this experimental thing that I mentioned earlier tonight. It's not an isolated thing in that area. So we can't go after any grants. There's none that exist right now that we know of, but even if there were ones that popped up, we'd be in the same problem of we're not shovel ready. We don't have a design, we're not ready to go. So we probably, even if there was a grant that popped up, not able to pay for that. So I just wanted to present overall what's going on in the Southeast so that you understand that challenges that we're having.
And there's an A and a B map in here, right? So you can tell which areas are included. I mean, obviously, I'd love to do it all, but I don't know if we can afford.
But if you look, the option A is the larger, so you have the whole service area defined, and then the actual roads and the water mains that are going to be replaced.
I knew I saw that, but I'm trying to find
it
it.
would be.
What page is it? I know.
Keep going about 3 more pages on this.
113 and 114.
Okay, gotcha.
Option A. I keep scrolling.
There's one. Yeah, I see 113.
Almost up. That's the smallest of the area right there that you're seeing. That's the all we can do. Discussions with Donald, that would be the smallest area. That's
Page
still
14
3,000
is the big one.
feet, and then page 114. She said
114 is the big one.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just the reason why that's crossed out is it's saying, okay, that's no longer just B. But if you look at all the darker blue lines, everything from Noble, 4th crosses, it goes down into Southeast 6th Ave, goes over to 4th Drive, and then goes down toward the north side of Woodfield on 4th Street, and then over there on South Main would go down again almost to where the cemetery is.
I think if you were to go down another 8 pages, this is the first proposal, small.
I think it's 113. Is that?
That's still small.
That's B, right?
Yes.
And this one is A.
No, this is still small.
Oh,
There are
that's still
several
a small
figures.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one here. Okay. Keep going. About 3 more pages. Right there. That's the whole quadrant of the larger. No. Just there.
123.
Yeah, 123.
There. But those light blue lines are 2-inch mains. The darker blue, there are some 6-inchers around the perimeter of this, primarily 2-inch water mains in there. No valving. They've been unable to repair many of these pipes. So there would be substantial upgrades, valving where they could isolate groupings, total redesign of the water system.
And then we have to repipe all the roads. Right?
Yes.
Well, that's the benefit. That's what's keeping us from going aggressively after some of the repaving grants. Because if we were to repave these, we'd be digging them up every week to make repairs.
Right.
So this gets us to a solution where if we could get the water main fixed, the sewers part of the SRF, we'll hopefully have those relined as part of the SRF, and gas is in great shape as far as its integrity. So water is the last obstacle to say, if we paved through this section, it would be an investment of 20, 25 years as opposed to we get brand new pavement down and 2 days later the guys are ripping it up.
Right.
So this gets us a step toward that so if we found a grant, typically if we found any funding source for water main repair, you would put in the design and the construction, the street repair. That's kind of the bonus that you would get with it.
So, we talked.
Southeast.
Behind.
On the police station, almost all the way
To the right.
to 6, I believe.
Oh, you're talking about for 329? That would be 2nd Street, Southeast 2nd Street, and Southeast 3rd Ave. That it pops out at Mr. Crabtree's, and between and Williston Crane. The southeast across the railroad tracks is a totally different thing, and that's actually getting paving. That's getting paving as part of the CDBG that we've already been awarded.
It does show the police department on here, so it does go. Only money, right? All the way we're going to get it.
Well, I mean, we anticipate the question because I've heard it here before as I present. How are we going to pay for that? And that's why we will be coming before you with the USDRD. We can ask. We have not talked about this project with them specifically, but that would be your direction. We could ask and possibly include that. All that would come before you again before we would apply. The USDRD loan is a rolling. It's when you apply, they evaluate it. There's no set deadline. It's basically an open enrollment.
Our staff suggestion would be that if you guys want to try and help, work with Stephen and find a way to do the smaller option, we could try and figure that out in this budget. If you wanted to go for the larger option, which has more long-term effects, that would be the one we would recommend that you consider the USDA.
So the smaller one is not inside the bigger one?
It is.
It is.
No, it is. But it's just a smaller section of it.
It's just a lot more of it. Yes. Another 8,000.
Yeah, the larger one encompasses everything.
Yeah.
The smaller one is just a portion of that. The absolute immediate need.
So is this the only location within the city that has a water main problem?
No, ma'am, but it's kind of triage. It's the one that we could bleed out on, as opposed to just still needing medicine.
Okay. So then why are we paving an area that hasn't been fixed?
Are you talking about the southeast over from 8th Street and on? Well, those water mains are much more recent. I mean, you're talking about you have a good classification of PVC pipe. And with the lead service inventory that we did, like I said last year, that section is actually in rather good shape compared to many, many other areas of town and some of the newer pipe. Now, if you get into the northeast side, let's say 9th Street and 10th Street on the northeast side from 27 North, then yeah, you're back into some of the older pipe. But what's great about certain areas of town is they have much more availability for CDBGs. This part of the southeast has a very hard time, just like the northwest and the southwest, of qualifying on the income requirements. The northeast part of town and from 8th Street over on the southeast part of town, we have a lot of options on state and federal funding. So we try to reserve those for our CDBGs and our projects, and then areas that can't qualify for those income qualifications, we try to figure out some other way.
So how in the world would we come up with money to do the smaller project now in this year's budget?
Again, that would be something that we would want to, talk to Stephen about and see, maybe we, like Chief effectively did this year, cut budget back on some areas to try and accomplish that. Maybe we talk about some of the expansion that we're doing and try and figure out with FGU what some of our expansion would be on the new gas line going in and the increased service that we would get from Monterey. Because they're going to basically double their usage of gas this year. So, I mean, I don't know. That's something that we could dig into, but there was no point in doing all that if you guys weren't interested in pursuing either option.
Chief, did you have something to say?
So does the smaller option get those areas that we're having so many complaints about?
The smaller area addresses the most critical area that we have. As I mentioned, if this experimental wrap does not work, we have no way of fixing that line.
Wow.
And we're running out of the lead that can repair it, and we really shouldn't be using the lead to repair it anyways. So, that's why that's the most critical. We look at it, I'm sure as our attorney would like us to, as what causes the most liability for the city, and that's why that's the targeted area at this moment.
And that's section B. Option B. Which is resolution 105. don't think.
I'd like to know we're going to pay for it now.
Can we approve it
Can't do it
on
until
the stipulation that we meet with Steve and then whomever we need to speak with?
That we
It's like
find
we
the
need
money,
to
that
do
the
it.
money is found.
We need to do it. And
If
We do.
we need to sell all of our organs to pay for it.
Yes.
We will, but
Yeah. I don't
mean,
have any.
needs to get
Sell all those new drugs, right?
That's right.
to approve it, but then not have the funds yet. I would say what we're doing with these is we're giving you what you need to look for and work out in the budgets. And until you work it out, I mean, recommend don't approve it. But this is information. This is what you need to find a budget for. So to approve it without knowing where the budget's going to be, approving it or giving us direction to also look into the USDA funding as an option. As we pursue that here in the next month, we'll be working diligently on assembling what that could be. That'll come back to you. Or if there's other funds that Donald was talking about within the budget, look for that. You know what the number is. And if it can be found, then
we do have some ideas. I mean, I'll give you an example. We have one corporate client in the city limits of Williston that we're hoping to compile an invoice on damage that was caused by them to our infrastructure. And I can't guarantee that they'll pay that invoice, but that invoice will probably reach somewhere between $55,000 and $65,000. It's not a local business, just for the record. It is not a local business. I just want to state that strongly. But we talked about that today in Sue's office. So there are some ideas that we have, and if we could pursue those and get funding, then we could come back and say, okay, we actually do have the money. Again, the smaller option is for you to instruct us to try and figure that out, make cuts, do what we need to do. The larger option would be, again, what we would really highly suggest if you want us to look at that in the next month with the USDA. So that's kind of why we need to know, what is the will of the council? Which direction would you prefer? Obviously, the larger one's more expensive, but it has more long-term positive effects. It gets the study out of the way instead of piecemeal. It's all eventually going to have to be studied. If you do the larger study, it doesn't mean that we would implement the whole construction in one thing. It would just mean that you have the data and information on the study, and then as we found funding to do construction, we could do that in pieces. But the design and all that to be shovel ready for the smaller one will only ever address that smaller area. So that's kind of how, what do you guys want to do, a long-term approach, or do you want to do a short-term fix? Is up to you, of course.
I would suggest. Okay, I would like for you to find the money first, and then bring it back to us, and then let us have a look at it, and then talk about it. And before you go, Mr. Cox, Chief, you had something you want to say?
I'm not getting into Donald's business, but I just wanted to ask the question since Walt said that there's no funding and there's no funding for this project that they're presenting. But Donald said earlier that there's funding for the lower income areas that we can get. So why not go after that and go, there's money there. So why not go to the lower income area, gather that money, fix that system, and work our way back until we figure out where we can get the money at for Walt's project.
Mr. Barber.
So I'll answer that question. So again, this is
critical need.
This is if I save a leg that doesn't have to be amputated, but the patient dies, it really doesn't do that person any good to have a leg. And that's where we're at for this neighborhood. This neighborhood, again, I could be at a point where I cannot deliver them safe water in the future. And so we have to basically turn customers off and then supply them by state law. I believe we have to supply them like water. I mean, like we have to bring them bottled water or cases of water or whatever their needs may be. That is a requirement that we have.
But that grant doesn't have anything to do with this situation because you said you already have it. So if you already have it and something needed to, it's just to repave.
That's only to repave that southeast side. That has nothing to do with water. That's the lift station on Lift Station 9 and Northeast 9th Street to completely be rebuilt and get it off of private property. And in order to get the points to have the 70 plus people affected, we put in paving for Southeast 9th Street, Southeast 9th Terrace, Southeast 10th Street from 27 to approximately 3rd Ave. So we were able to get some paving out of that to meet the criteria for that CDBG. If you guys want us to concentrate on Southeast, that's not a problem. We do that. But design and build in those CDBGs are included. This is slightly different. And I want to also say, if you're talking about a significant amount of water pipe, a lot of CDBGs won't even go that high in the amount. So that's the other thing. We can only go up to, I believe, around 800,000. So we would do that area in very small sections. Again, I'll repeat. We're out there, and I'm just telling you that this area has the most critical need.
All right. I mean, I don't think the questions being asked are for you to do one versus the other. It's just that you said that you had a grant for that one. So the question was, if you had a grant already, why were you not going to go ahead and fix that section and then pave it? But you just said that it's about it, that grant was for paving only.
Yes.
So in asking questions, we're not trying to say one versus the other. People need clarification because you don't always understand.
And that
so
was,
thank you.
That was my question. We talked about lead pipes and older pipes in the northeast side of town that still have lead in them. So if the grants are out there to replace those pipes to provide the clean water, like Donald said, if you cut the leg off or whatever he said, it's still there's lead pipes and there's old pipes over in the northeast area as well, and there's grants available to get it. And I'm not going against Donald at all. I'm just voicing a suggestion or an idea that since we don't have those funds, let's do something in the other area of the city. That's just as important as
that you have the can get funds for.
Yeah. So if I can add, the project that Donald's talking about with the paving and let's say that's a CDBG grant that was capped at $700,000. That's your typical amount. We have to complete that. We just have to get power, three-phase power over there, and it can go out for bid and construction. It's been done. It's ready to go. Then we go to construction. Once that's done, we can apply again for another CDBG grant, but we have to finish that one. Can't have two. Except there is a special round right now that's available, CDBG DR grant application, that we, up to a week or two ago, didn't think the city was going to be eligible. Speaking with Fred Fox Enterprises, they do a lot of your CDBG grant applications, and we help them with those. They came back last minute, a week ago Friday, and says, it's due September 29th. We think we can get money, and it's not capped at $700,000. And so we have been scrambling here this week, working on that. Nikki and Laura on Friday got a notice in the paper. I mean, within minutes of the deadline. I mean, literally got that in. On that grant, it's income-based, and it has a certain need tied to hurricane damage or resiliency to prevent other hurricanes. And what best fit that project were backup generators at 13 of your lift stations. Couldn't do them all. You got 21 lift stations. 13 of them would meet the income requirements and the criteria for hurricane resiliency. So we're putting in for permanent backup generators at 13 of your lift stations. Plus, I think we can still ask 4 of your lift station total replacements. And so we're looking that is a CDBG grant ask that's due on the 29th. Fred Fox, staff, Wright Pierce is helping to pull that together, and that's going to be about a $6.5 million ask. So that met. Unfortunately, the other water mains don't meet that criteria, but those projects, they meet that window of criteria. So that's something I don't want to. I've been kind of on a convoluted path here, but that's something else that's going on in the background here. That came up with feel that we're eligible. That's another application that's going out. There are literally about 8 applications that were due September, October that we are working with staff to get applied for right now. But CDBG could do that, but we are limited. This is a special CDBG, and we're going after backup generators and 4 lift stations.
Any other questions? Yes. Oh.
This is more of just as an update when we were speaking about flooding, so I'm going to step back a thing. There's a couple that I can't remember their name that lives on 7th Avenue across from Country Lane Estates. And there was talk before about doing a swale going back to the retention pond. What's happening with that?
Those are resolutions 107
Yeah,
and
it's in
108.
it's in a different one tonight. Yeah. I saw the picture of the swales. I say go for the little one and then try to get the USDA for the big one. That'd be my opinion, but I'm with y'all. Find the money and bring it back to us. That's kind of where I am too. I know we need to do it, and I was thrilled to see it on here because that means you're thinking about it and you're got it on paper.
Yeah. And you're working through your budget process. I mean, I wish we could have had these earlier in your process too, but these are needs. And you have a lot more needs. And I don't know, we prepared a couple years ago rather quick CIP spreadsheet of all the various projects that we were aware of from the various infrastructure report. Dennis was involved in a lot of these, all the other projects, and we put that together. We updated it to New Year, I think in January. I don't know if that has been circulated as you look at your budget, but when you talk about other needs in the city, there's a long list of other projects.
And I also want to remind the council, we have about $70 million worth of grants since July that we put in. The very first set of grants, if you remember, Walt and I presented back in, I think it was the first meeting in August, it was June. So it was July that we presented it. That was the $42 million for the wastewater. That included the plant upgrades. And then there was, I believe it was $13 million on the water. And those were 8 water projects, main replacements, all over town that were in the Northeast, that were in the Southeast. So we did already apply for grants. I want to make sure you're reminded of that. So we haven't neglected other areas. It's just we try to find the grant or the funding that matches. Unfortunately, this section, we couldn't find a grant for it. And because it's of such critical nature, that's why we brought it to you. And we will absolutely do our best to find how we get the study of it done so we could be shovel ready if something pops up.
Okay.
All right. So we don't have to vote or anything. Kind of giving our consent. Correct. All right. Resolution 2025-107 and Resolution 2025-108.
This is Resolution 2025-107, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the Northwest 7th Street Drainage Improvement Interim Solution Proposal from Wright Pierce, authorizing appropriate parties to execute such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date. And I'll also read 108, so we consider them together. 2025-108, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the Northwest 7th Street Drainage Improvements Full Solution Proposal from Wright Pierce, authorizing appropriate parties to execute such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
Similar to the water mains in the southeast, this is in the northwest. It's the stormwater problems on Northwest 7th Street, just north of Northwest 4th Avenue. We've got 2 proposals. One we call an interim solution. It's not a smaller necessarily. It is smaller, but it could help with the stormwater flooding that is happening there for your smaller storm events. Not a hurricane, not a 100-year, not a, I don't want to put numbers to this, but not a 25, but your typical everyday rain events that occur throughout. We can design some improvements. We've met with the Water Management District, what we can't do. We do have to get a permit. We got to get some level of design has to happen. So we have surveying, some geotech, and just an interim solution of some driveway culverts, conveying water to the quarry pit that's behind the houses there. We'd have to get some easements and agreements. but there's a quick design that we can do to alleviate the things that happen a couple times a year that are just happening. Hurricane comes through, it probably won't have any effect, but it's a solution to get some relief for the people that are living there. And that is what the interim solution is. We gave a proposal for that, to do the design and the permitting. We've talked about whether it would be possible that the city crews can do this work, the way we're going to work it. I'm not going to speak for them or the timing, but we can put it out for bid and get the work done. It might be work that the city could do themselves also. We'll cross that bridge. But we can do the design and the permitting on this interim solution. It's a much smaller project, but something can be done to help out. It's not the permanent fix. The proposal on Resolution 108 is looking at a larger area of the conveyance, really from Noble Road north. You convey water down 7th Avenue in that whole region. So we'd be looking at that stormwater improvements, and that would handle your bigger storm, 25, 50-year storm events that would happen. And that's that solution. So again, we're presenting, you could approve one, approve the smaller one, approve the bigger one, or approve nothing. But you've had residents come before you and needing relief. There's a lot of talk, a lot of people blaming CLE for the problems or not. The Jones-Edmonds flooding map and their analysis showed that was an area, and it's a depressional bowl where nowhere for the water to go. The flooding that are shown in the figure there, that's from the Jones-Edmonds study before Countryland Estates was ever here. There was flooding problems there, but we can do something to help out with that interim fix, and that's a quick fix, faster process, and something could be done to give the people some relief in that area. Again, do we have a funding mechanism for the bigger one? Right now, we do not. We did at one point. We applied for a FEMA BRIC grant, and we made it to round 2 of the process, and they cut the funding. So that has not been restored yet. So that one we were looking, 6 months ago, it lost its funding, maybe even 8 months ago now. But it was cut. So we don't have another fund, but the interim, it's a much smaller fee. Now, whether that can be done, we could get the design, see if the staff has the capability of doing it, or we put it out for bid and get, bids for construction. Come back to you with that construction cost. But again, this is a small, bigger fix or none. You have the choice. But this is a little bit of a smaller hit to you right now, the interim, than the water mains were. It's a smaller design. That is what we are.
Are you freezing?
Yes, I am freezing.
It is freezing in here. Somebody do something with the soldier. Get down. It is cold. I'm cold too.
Madam President, so this is similar except one caveat as the previous presentation. We do have the design money for the smaller project in our current stormwater budget, but we do not obviously for the larger. And I want to say that is for the design. That is not for the construction. So if you wanted to go with the smaller one, as Walt mentioned, it won't have the long-term effect, but it could provide some relief of the guys going out in the middle of the night when there's a really strong downpour, starting to put out pumps and sandbags and things of that nature, and give the folks at least some ease that we're attempting to move forward in the right direction. But that design money, I believe it's $10,000, Walt. What's the on the smaller one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw 10,000.
No.
39.5.
39.5. We've got surveying, geotechnical, and design.
So we have about 30 of that in the stormwater.
Yeah.
We have about 30 of that in the stormwater. I didn't realize it was 39.
Yeah. There's still a lot of steps.
So it would be about $9,000 short, and again, we could go and see if we could figure it out, but it's not a terrible price tag. Again, that's not construction. I just want to point that out.
Do we have the option to do the smaller one first and then keep exploring funding to do the larger one eventually, because as somebody that lives on 7th Street and deals with this weekly, it needs to change. But I obviously know we don't have money for the big one right now. So I didn't know if we did the small one, if then we wouldn't be able to do the big one, or we could do the small one until we have funding.
So that's a great question. We could definitely do both. Just keep in mind that one design is a completely different solution than the other. So we could do the small one. We could implement it if we found the money. Maybe it provides relief, and maybe in the lieu, something comes up as a funding opportunity. The BRIC grant comes back, then yes, we would pursue that. Just keep in mind it would almost be like spending a little bit of money toward the same project twice. But again, if that's the only way we can provide relief, that might be the best course of action. But there's nothing that prevents us from pursuing the first, and then if an opportunity came up to expand it, there's nothing against us pursuing that.
There's a good, yeah, I agree. But there may be some improvements that you do in the interim that would have to be redone, though. The drive culverts are going to be different, or the piping would be deeper. So some of it might have to be reworked when the bigger one would be implemented in construction. But yeah, you can do this in steps.
Any other comments? Just like put the pipes deeper to begin with, and it'll be there when you're ready for it.
And we have to analyze all the way up inside.
I know it's not as easy.
Yeah.
No more discussion. So the small one is 107.
39. Oh, the number is, resolution 107.
No motion? Whether we can come up with the money. Yeah. You and these organs on one of those trucks.
How much do you get for yours, Sue?
She has a lot of organs for sale.
I actually got $9,000 for mine.
Oh my.
I can say that I think we can work hard enough to find around $9,000 somewhere in the budget. I really do, and I know for a fact that we have about $30,000 set aside in the stormwater. That's not. It's not committed to anything other than stormwater. So, and there's no particular project that we had in mind. We just knew that we needed to fund stormwater for some of these things coming up. So, I mean, it's up to y'all, but I'm. Steven's here, isn't that a blessing? Maybe he could tell us if we could squeeze $9,000 out of it.
You can tell us on a different day. And then that's the current budget, not next year's budget.
Well, we're about to October 1, so
okay, so you're talking about next year's budget.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I could look at Stephen could, and I could look at what this year's is and see if there's anything left in it. I don't think that there is. Okay. There you go.
Right.
But I was counting on next year's. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion we approve resolution 2025-107 on the stipulation that we find the $9,000 before proceeding. That's the correct way to do it.
That's good. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the public? Any further discussion from the council? If none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 4-0. We're still good. We can work with 3. All right, so we're going to go to Resolution 2025-109.
Madam President, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the miscellaneous professional services for the Public Works Department contract modification number 6 proposal from Wright Pierce, authorizing appropriate parties to execute such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
Iron.
I know.
So about every 9 months, we come before you with modifications for, we have a total of 3 miscellaneous services agreements. One for Public Works, one for Planning, and we have one for the CRA that we do things for. Public Works, we do a lot of the grant funding, and I do want to say this whole round of all these grants that we have just been doing, August, September, and we're doing, because we're only asking for engineering on this, not the construction dollars. We have done that as a marketing cost. There's been zero cost to the city on any of this. All this stuff done, applying for the grants, submitting the grants, that was done on our side because we're going to be the initial benefactor of those. But then you'll be shovel ready and then you'll be positioned for the construction dollars. But all of those that we've been doing here this past 2.5 months, we've been doing it as a marketing effort on our part. So I want to say that. But there are other grants that we've done, the brick grants, applications. We've done those under the miscellaneous services. A lot of the work at Fugit, getting the pumps up and running and keep going with that. We had a bunch of DOT roadway plans that had to be reviewed and interact with FDOT on that. There was a bunch of various things that we've been doing, stormwater pond inspections that you're mandated to do. But so those are staff. As the need comes in, they ask us to assist them when they need engineering. So that's what we do on the public works side. So we do kind of go through that chunk of money in about a 9-month window. So we're asking, that's 109, resolution 109. A little bit different scenario on 110, and I'll talk about that separately, unless you want me to do both of them now. They're both miscellaneous services.
And the one for Public Works is in the budget. It was put in the budget.
Any questions? I move approval of resolution 2025-109.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the audience? Anything from council? Seeing none, move to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 3-0. Resolution 2025-110.
Madam President, this is Resolution 2025-110, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the miscellaneous professional services for planning contract modification number 3, proposal from Wright, Kiersten, authorizing appropriate parties to execute such proposal on behalf of the City of Williston and providing an effective date.
Again, like Public Works, this is for planning. These services, with one exception, as when Laura was here, when they needed assistance on planning type purposes, we did do on the last round a large chunk. She asked us to prepare parks master plans, which are going to be part of your comprehensive plan update. So we worked with planning and staff, had several meetings, prepared the master plans for, I think, 9 of the parks with cost estimates. We've completed those. That was a big chunk that was done under this miscellaneous services with the intent that they get rolled in to the comp plan. That has not yet started, I believe. That is, J-Bro is doing that. But that chunk is going to go into that. So we did a large chunk of that. But other than that, what we do under this task are typically plan reviews. As a development comes in, Covington Place, Subway, Anytime Fitness, Wawa, T-Mobile, the coffee shop across the street. Those, we do the plan reviews, build the city. What you passed an ordinance earlier this year where those costs should be recouped. I'm not sure how that's being handled here, but under this contract, the developer should be paying those costs. And I don't know if it's happening, but I would highly recommend that those money that you collect go back into this account. We would then not be coming back here. For plan reviews, it should be a self-sustaining account. That it's a cost, and they get billed that. You have an ordinance that now charges them that, plus your administrative fees. There's staff fees that can go to it. If there's legal fees, that would all go to those developers. I don't know how that's being handled right now, but if it were coming back to this account, we wouldn't need to be coming back. I mean, it's only when they have special projects that they need. But the plan review process should be self-sustaining. I just want to kind of point that out. That's something that we may need to look into to make sure that that process is there for that. But anyway, that's what we do in here. And then also when they go to construction, a big chunk of this money right now is Towns of Williston, where we're out there. We're going to have people out there next week. We're out there quite a bit. I do a weekly status meeting with the contractor, their engineer, and the developer. So that's ongoing things that we bill to this under the Towns of Williston task. But that should go back. Your ordinance does say they owe you that money, so that should be billed to them. And ideally, coming back to this account would be ideal. So
we should be sending them a bill for those services.
yeah, so we do need to look into that. That's happening. In other communities where we do this, like right now, you get one invoice for this project. It's broken down by task. Other communities where we do this, they get a separate invoice for each one, so they give that invoice to the developer, all standalone, and then they get charged. We can work that out too. If that makes it easier for you, we can absolutely do that for you. But anyway, that's what this is for. This should be a self-sustaining budget, though, pretty much.
Do we have an account already set up for that?
I need to have a meeting with Laura and Nikki and Powers that Be. Walt and I were just talking about this. I'm going to look at Stephen when I say this, but I don't think this has been done correct.
We probably need to review the ordinance and see exactly what it says.
Yeah.
Because it probably tells the mechanism. We just need to figure it out.
Right. So that's something I need to work on.
It has a rate sheet, what they have to pay.
Right.
But I don't know.
And that probably needs to be in the developer's agreement that we do, at least from now on, so that they know they have to pay it. Because if it's not in there, they probably don't.
It was in the townhomes attachment. It was in the townhomes developers agreement.
Terrific. We need to go back and bill them. There's the money right there. Yeah. Might be $9,000. At least. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
I make a motion we approve 2025-1.
I'll second the motion. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the public? Council. Seeing none, I move to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 3-0. All right. Number G, discussion with possible action, CRA proposal and manhole on Southwest First Avenue. Public Works Administrator Donald Barber. I'm so excited.
Okay, I'm excited about this one too. All night we've been talking about where do we get money. So we sat down and we thought about some things, and I attend all the Community Redevelopment Agency meetings. I want to express appreciation to Mr. Langston, the Vice President, and Mr. McMillan, the President of the CRA. Because what we presented to them was, this being part of that district, it is really bad that this problem exists. And as you all know, there's a barricade in front of PD, and it's also a hazard for people driving that area. We couldn't figure out a funding mechanism for it. There were two solutions proposed, and again, this is another area that Wright Pierce worked with us on. Because we have an open contract with Wilkes across the street on the Block 12 program, we realized we wouldn't have to go out to bid with a change order. But that contract was with the CRA and not the city. And also, if we'd have come to you, you'd have had the question of how are we paying for this. So what we did was we attended the CRA meetings, we talked to Wilkes, we worked with Wright Pierce. There was a very large project initially to completely replace the structure and do the paving, and that turned out to be a very, very large number that we knew that the CRA would not be happy with. So instead what we did is we asked, is there a simpler solution? So the two solutions were, as a cheap option of pouring around, it was simply to re-level it out and take down bricks as we went down. And the reason why we didn't go with that, and the CRA didn't agree with that, is because with the deterioration of that material, it was put in a long time ago, we wouldn't know where they'd have to stop. And it'd kind of be like an open tab. Until there's structural stability, we would have to keep going down. So that was an open-ended number. The second one was around $34,000, and that was, we're going to go beyond the manhole, we're going to go down at a certain amount of feet, and we're going to pour a concrete base in compacted ground that is not reliant on the structure. And then after we pour that ring, that new structure section will be put on top of it, placed even, and the manhole and the paving will all be redone there. So we presented that to the CRA. They, over a couple of meetings, they agreed to it. Last Monday night, they passed the funding, and so it's a done deal. So I just wanted to come to the council, let you know that is a solution to a problem. We are expecting Mr. Wilkes by Thursday of this week, or excuse me, Mr. Steve from Wilkes, by Thursday this week to give us a construction schedule proposed. We're hoping that within 6 to 8 weeks, we will have that problem addressed, and they're just going to task themselves from here since they're already mobilized right over. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that we are fixing that, and for anyone out in YouTube world, we are fixing that. So
Thank you. Yeah, where are all these people? We're fixing all their complaints and they're not here. Probably true. All right. So, discussion with possible action, all employees unpaid certifications, HR Director Kim Troy. Before we, Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to go before her, Kiersten? Or does it matter?
It's up to you all. If you'd rather the resolutions first and then end on
The other two resolutions.
the funding, then that's fine with me.
I prefer the two resolutions. So, Kim, we'll come back to you. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Don't sound so disappointed.
So these are the walk-ons that we were discussing, 111 and 112 that I'll read. So they are available for you on the dais. The first is Resolution 2025-111, a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program (FERDAP) to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for federal fiscal year 2026-2027, authorizing appropriate parties to sign any documents required to submit that application and providing an effective date. This resolution is in regards to the John Henry Park. The other one will be for a different park, so I'll let you take it from there.
And I apologize for getting these to you so late, but I just got these from Fred Fox this afternoon. So the first one, 111, is it's just a resubmittal from last year. Nothing's changed. It's the amount that we're requesting is $200,000. And if you look at the actual application, it is pages 7 and 8. It goes over and reviews what the $200,000 is for at the park. So playground renovation, $45,000. Shuffleboard court renovation, $5,000. Exercise trail renovation, $30,000. Splash park, new splash park, $50,000. New picnic facilities, $25,000. Restroom renovations, $8,500. Renovations to the parking lot, $5,000. New bike rack for $1,500, and then the grant writing for Fred Fox would be $30,000.
On the playground renovation, are they just going to renovate what's there, or are we going to get with like what a lot of the other parks in other cities have? They have like a rubberized kind of mat that's down, and also too the equipment. There's a lot playground equipment's a lot different than like what we have. Is that the direction we're going to go in, or what are we going to renovate?
I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't read all of this. I can certainly reach out to them and...
what was the number?
I think they're confused. 111. Now this looks got John Henry in front of it, but it's got Everett's sheet. The number she was reading is our Everett.
Oh, they may have been transposed. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Read the right one.
Yeah, you have this one over here that says Jefferson. Well, it says John Henry here, but the other one says that. So never mind. Keep going.
We're on John Henry, right? John Henry.
What was the amount for the playground?
45,000.
So to answer Mr. Cox's question, that would be a rehab of the surface. It would not be a replacement of the actual equipment. The actual equipment, we've priced it out as somewhere in the range between $75,000 and $120,000 for the updated equipment. So it would be, I believe, the $45,000 specifically was the ground cover, getting rid of the mulch and going to a more appropriate, like you mentioned, kind of like a memory foam outdoor pad, was the $45,000. I think Laura's plan, I remember having the discussion, it was they were focusing on the splash park this time as opposed to the playground equipment. They hoped that if they did playground equipment, since that one already had some good equipment, that we would focus on some of the other parks on equipment. And I think that was the goal. But the splash pad was the big expenditure.
And I don't think anybody uses the shuffleboard court, and I don't know where you would get the equipment.
It was a rehab of using the space. It wasn't to put back a shuffleboard court. So they would actually come up with a different concept on that space. I don't remember exactly what that was, but it was like...
It says shuffleboard court renovation.
Right, renovating the space, but it wasn't to put shuffleboards back.
That's good.
Yes.
Nobody uses it.
No, ma'am.
Because there's no equipment.
Right.
I mean, you've got to have those things to do it with. I don't think we've ever had them.
And these were done today?
Yes, I just got these this afternoon.
And unfortunately, they have a deadline of
I was
prior
gonna
to
ask,
your next
is there a
meeting,
timeline?
which is why they are walking on in this one. The good news is the last couple of meetings you all have gotten like surprise grant funding opportunities. The bad news is that means the last couple of meetings we've had to walk things onto your agenda. So we apologize, but we don't want you to miss out on money.
And I think it's Northwest 1st Avenue, not Northwest 1st Street. Hold on. Page 3. It would be 1st Ave, not 1st Street.
We'll relay that to them.
At the very top up here, it's got the address wrong.
Got it. I mean, if you look on page 3, I did notice this today. It has State Senator Keith Perry and State Representative Chuck Clemens. So,
Oh yeah, those are definitely wrong.
yeah. Like I said, these were definitely last year's submissions, so I will make sure these things get taken care of and changed.
Okay. Free money.
I make a motion we approve Resolution 2025-111.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the public or council? Seeing none, move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 3-0.
Madam President, this is Resolution 2025-112, a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program, FERDAP, to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for federal fiscal year 2026-2027, authorizing appropriate parties to sign any documents required to submit said application and providing an effective date. This is the Epperson Park application.
So same thing, same 200,000, and then if you look again on page 7 and 8, you've got the breakdown for the 200,000, renovation to the basketball court, 10,000, renovation to the historical facility, 5,000, new playground, 50,000, new fishing pier, 20,000. Okay.
I don't know what kind of historical facility we've got either.
It's talking about the monument.
Unless it's a bathroom.
It's talking about it's talking about it's talking about the generator, the initial generator, and kind of rehabbing it and making it, back looking like it used to, and then the cannon as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's in terrible shape. Go put a fishing pier in the pond.
The funding is to clean out all the trees, and just have the water feature, to put some sort of water feature in there, and then to replace the fence and build like a deck around it, so it could almost be like a walking path. And then if someone wanted to take a cane pole and toss it over, I don't think that they should ever eat what comes out of it, but
Do you know how deep that place is?
yes, it's very
I
deep.
would hate for somebody to fall in.
That's why we want to replace the fence and put a dock up around it instead. That was the concept of the master plan. That I didn't create it. I'm just answering the questions because I know them.
I wouldn't call it a dock. Or a fishing pier.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a fishing pier either.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
It was kind of off of Lake Lillian in Bellevue. It was the same concept if you've ever been there. That was kind of the design that they came up with.
Is it? It is really deep. They had a drag line that they sat there. I remember as a kid because I used to live in that neighborhood, and they dug all around as far as they could go, and then they had to crane lift the drag line out.
Well, for any people who've been in Williston a really long time, don't fear. We don't plan on dredging it.
That's good. Tell them what's in it. I bet there's lots of
Maybe you
alligators.
should.
Alligators.
There's more snakes than anything else. There's a lot of snakes.
Yeah, maybe people do. It's just,
I think we killed like 3 water moccasins the last time we were over there.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
It's
Can I get a
bad.
motion? Any further questions?
I make a motion we approve Resolution 2025-112.
I will second the motion.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion from the public? Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none, move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those that oppose say nay. Motion passes 3-0. So now, sure.
Can we have an update on Cornelius Williams Park, please?
Ooh, I got it right here.
Thank you, Miss Debra. Thank you.
I got a whole list. Cool. I should have done it earlier, but I didn't.
That's why I did it now. I didn't want to
Yeah.
wait to the end to do it, but I would like an update. I think I've asked this before in meetings for an
You
update
have.
on Cornelius Williams Park,
Multiple times.
and I rode through there today, and it doesn't appear that anything has happened.
Want to do it now?
Sure. He asked questions, so I guess we have to do it now.
Sure. Walk, give it to us. I know the last I heard, I didn't like it, but let's hear it.
Yeah, you may not like it. Again, so the latest that I know, so the initial design for the stormwater and the site improvements, the first phase of that has been done. We submitted it more than a year ago to Levy County, and they objected to the work due to the zoning that is there. It's zoned industrial right now. And they said if you want to renovate the park, even though it's been a park forever, you have to have it rezoned. And then the zoning, that category it was going to go to, park, wouldn't permit what we wanted to do there because you had too much impervious. Their definition of park in Levy County is more of a nature park, not a sports park. And you can't have that much parking, that much paved areas. The basketball courts violated their code. So they were going to work with the city of Williston to come up with a zoning criteria that would meet that and change those requirements. So that was where it was at. They went through planning changes and a lot of changes in Levy County, and nothing was happening. And then finally they got to the point where they said, let's just annex this to the city of Williston. They don't want it anyway. It's your park. And we're going that route. So then it wouldn't become a problem. It's going to become the city of Williston. We can do what we want to do. We have some issues with doing that, legal issues, so we can't. So now it's back into Levy County, and they have to rezone it. And Laura was working on that with Levy County to get the rezoning done. And then, of course, the zoning criteria and requirements need to change too, so that it can be a sports park, not a nature park.
Positive update. Because it's back in the county's hands, the county is contracted with JB Pro. JB Pro is contracted with the city of Williston. And the person that has been assigned to both accounts is Laura Jones. That just happened. So,
Yeah, but we've been waiting on that for a year.
Yeah, and I don't think people wanted it.
I
as a sports
understand that.
park.
Well, it's in your comprehensive plan. It's a sportsplex. But again, what can happen now is because she's at the county. I believe she's there 2 days a week, and she's here 2 days a week, and I believe those are the same 2 days, she has the ability now to work with the county to get this moving forward. So that's a very positive thing as far as actually getting the county to address it and on their agenda.
My biggest fear, and I'll say this out loud, is that I know we've already got an extension once on this grant, because I remember passing it. My biggest fear is that we're not going to get it done in time, and they're going to want all the money we've already spent back.
We've reached out to them, and that is a one-time grant that they created, and they do not have plans to evaporate the funding. It has been set aside.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
So Laura actually reached out to them on that.
Will they give us another extension?
Absolutely. And I believe she's already even requested it. I could be wrong on that, but she had talked about requesting it, so we could confirm that with her on that. But again, even if we could do the grant right now, I want to remind everybody that it's based on what the grant was awarded to do. So we can't do the things that we were awarded to do, like the parking and like the basketball improvements and those things, without addressing the stormwater. We can't legally do it. We can't get permits to do it.
Sure.
So, and the stormwater, all the work's been done on it. I mean, we have
designed,
exactly. So we have to have Levy counties. There's another thing that also happened. I believe there's commercial property directly in front of it that is up for sale. And to the mayor's point, we could propose, because they have city services, they have some utility services from the city, we could propose to the new owner when they come in that they annex, and that could almost, that I believe we would be getting to the point where we could almost become, with 2 properties in between that one, with those 3 properties, we could approach those, as the mayor mentioned, and be more proactive and see if the 2 want to annex. If the new property owner does, that would be the 3rd piece, and we would then be attached by the park. And that would be along 27. So that's another route that we could look into.
At one point, 2 or 3 of them wanted it, because they told us they did.
If the council wants us to go,
the same owners.
If the council wants us to go forward and seek that out, that's something that we could meet with them about.
I think that's something that Laura was also looking into before she left. The annexation of the properties that would make the park adjacent to the city. So it's not an off the table. We're sort of pursuing parallel tracks, trying to do both things at the same time.
So is it Shifted Gears that's for sale? And they own both those properties.
They own quite a few properties,
They do.
but then there's 2 properties between their northernmost property.
At least 2. I think there's 3.
There's the
Marathon.
Right.
And then the metal building. I don't know what's in the metal
Napa
building anymore.
Napa. Yeah.
Napa.
And then I believe the next property over, they have possession of.
It's another other metal building.
Okay, what? Okay, we got it.
We don't get it. We're trying to.
We got it. Can we move on? Not gonna make a difference.
Yeah, I think we should.
So thank you. All right, so we're gonna go back to discussion. No, We're gonna go back to discussion with possible action. All employees unpaid certification. HR Director Troy.
Okay, so the one that is actually in the packet is a list of everybody's certs with yes or no that they've been paid. I did print out before the meeting, once I got Excel to cooperate and freeze the left pane. Everybody that has been listed, no. Some of these certs were not in their files. The employees brought me these certs. They are now in their files. And Kurt and Cody, they are in the works. They are listed as no because their PAFs were submitted to payroll today to pay them up to 10, just shy of 10 for one and just shy of 5. And the reason they're marked as no is because they can only go to a certain date to stay within that threshold. So they haven't been completely paid yet, which is the next item on the agenda. And then after that, they will turn, once it's approved and the PAF is submitted, they will be turned to a yes.
So all of these no's that are sitting here that have dates, but no actions. There are no PAFs for those.
The ones with dates with no action. So the ones for Cody and Kurt, those were submitted on 3/27/2025, but we needed council approval.
We're not worried about them. They're kind of taken care of. But I'm talking about the other ones, like Jonathan, Donald, Nicole, Earl, Ralph. They have dates, but there's no other action. Nobody has signed anything, which means they don't have a PAF.
Are you looking at the no sheet or the sheet that was in the?
So the one that has the date, the first date you see is the date of the certification or license.
I'm sorry, Kim. Say that again.
I said, so the first column is their last name, then it's their first name, the cert or the license, then the following column is the date of the cert. And then after that is who was signed off. Some of them somehow filtered onto, oh wait, I printed out the same thing you're looking at, but I didn't switch
I started
over
to say,
it.
are you looking at the sheet, the spreadsheet that's in the packet, or are you looking at the no sheet?
The no sheet.
All right.
Now.
There you go.
Now I am.
Well, I was looking at the one you were looking at.
One packet.
I was looking at the one in the packet.
Yeah. But now we're all on the same page now.
Okay. So, so we have like all of these cert dates, but since there's no signed off name or signature or anything,
Some things don't get paid for, right?
does that mean there's no PAF for them?
If there's no name signed off, or a date, that means that there was no record. I wouldn't say that there wasn't one created.
Yeah, because when you look over here, this is why I'm going back to this one. This one does have a. And this one does.
And then, for
The one in the
example,
packet has some signatures. See the one in
yes.
the packet?
So, for example, one for I believe it's Alex, the water distribution level 3. So there is a cert date, a PAF signed off, but these are the ones I can't find any record of that they were paid because we don't have an HRIS system. So I can only follow the paperwork.
So you're back to that one again. Because Alex is
This
not,
one.
Alex is not even on the other list.
Yes, he is. He's on the last page.
Oh, sorry. Got it.
So what is this piece of paper telling us? Because I have no idea. I'm totally lost.
And over here on this list, there are some yeses on Alex. And over here, they're all no's. So
Yes, because that's the filtered list. The one that's up here was before I could freeze the pane. EXO would not cooperate with me to freeze the pane because in the last meeting I was asked to do one with all no's. Well, once I filtered all no's, there were no names. It got rid of the names. And the reason I printed out the one with all no's for you is because I actually got to freeze the pane and you could see whose name they belong to.
All right, in the middle of all this, I have a really stupid question.
Yes, ma'am.
The line in the collective bargaining agreement that says that we will pay and that we will pay back to a certain date.
There's no back date in there. It just, the collective bargaining agreement started October 1st, 2023.
Well, that would be the date that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
agreed to do it.
Yes,
in
ma'am.
my opinion. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, but that's when I would say that we said we would go back to. I don't know that we said we would go back before that.
That I don't know.
And I also know that, and if I'm wrong, somebody tell me.
I don't
know
have a copy
that
of our
exempt.
previous one.
Say again.
I said I don't have a copy of the CBA that came before that, so I can't tell you one way or the other if that was
I have it on my computer, but I don't know that it's there. I don't have the new one on my laptop, but I have the old one. I need the new one. But my question is, which is a really off-the-wall question, that collective bargaining agreement that has that date that says that we will pay $1 for each of the licenses are exactly how it's stated, I'm not sure. Is it only for non-exempt employees? Because those are the ones that are covered by the collective bargaining agreement. Does it pertain to exempt employees? That's a question I keep asking myself that I don't know the answer to.
No, the CBA doesn't state anything about it.
I know, but the collective bargaining agreement doesn't cover exempt employees. So it would not pertain. Or would it? That's my question.
My understanding of your collective bargaining agreement is that it does not cover exempt employees.
That's the way I read it too.
That is the way that I read it. This is not my specific wheelhouse of law. I can get a second opinion for you, but that has been the way that I have understood this agreement. This does not apply to exempt employees.
And who are exempt employees? You have to call names, but department.
Right. Department heads, some of your supervisors, there are various positions.
People that don't get it.
Oh, correct.
You have a question.
I mean, I am one of those exempt people.
I
but
thought that's why you were raising your hand. But
no, ma'am. I think it's also very important to the council to point out to the council that the CBA doesn't say that every certificate gets $1.
Correct.
Right.
So it's just need to set that baseline.
That's why some of these no's are not going to get paid.
No, the CBA states certification or license. It doesn't say certificate. It says certification.
Right. I agree.
And it also has to be approved by the department head.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of these no's will never get paid because they're certificates, not certifications or licenses.
Right.
Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
I mean, that's the way I'm interpreting it anyway. But the ones that need to be paid.
So
all I gotta say.
Some of them are we are paying people for certificate of completion, not actual certifications currently.
Why? That was a question of mine too, and that's why I asked the question the last time we were talking, because I was under the impression that certificate, every time you got a certificate, it was getting paid even though it may have been.
TVPPA is a certificate of completion, not a certification. And we are approving pay for TVPPA certificate of completions on the next item.
I think
we've actually already done that, in my opinion, 3 times.
Mr. Bishop, Mr. Barber,
and yet
not
to pay
Bishop.
them.
Did you not talk about that? Because I asked that question at our last meeting. Didn't you say that they have to complete all of their classes in order to get certified?
So I
paid $1?
I talked about a lot of different divisions. You'd have to be specific with that question because that answer is different with each division.
Oh.
So if you're talking about,
I think at the time we were talking about.
You were the main one that I talked about was gas.
Mm-hmm.
Gas has a whole testing section provided by an instructed course through proctored exams called Energy WorldNet. There are roughly between 93 and 105 tests on there. Each one has a certificate of completion. But then there's the field side of it, which you have to go out and actually demonstrate that. And after a master evaluator assigns that, then all 93 to 105 on both the testing and on the performance come together and create one license.
Correct.
So that's gas. Now, each realm of this is different depending on the industry and the type of license that it is. So some are like, for example, the backflow certification is a Florida license certificate. It is a 40 to 80 hour class done by a proctored exam instructed by up there in Trio by University of Gainesville through the state. And it is a certification and a license. But like I said, I could go through each one and answer specific questions on them. That's why I believe the CBA was written specifically to state that they put in a form requesting education. Whether it was continuing education, it was a course, it was a license, and it was up to the department head and the director to sign off on whether or not they would be allowed to pursue it, 1, pursue it with reimbursement, 2, and pursue it with reimbursement and be compensated for it was the 3rd element. And we'd been doing that for quite a while, and so that's the best way I can answer that question.
I thought during one of the conversations that it was to come in front of the council as well, for us to put our stamp on the testing that they've completed. Yeah,
Well,
for future.
I know we asked for a list of all the ones that each department head would approve for each position, and we did receive that. But I don't know that I remember it having to come to us. We were going to approve that list maybe, but not each person having to come to us.
That's my recollection.
No, that's my recollection.
The list.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, Kim, can I ask you a question about Alex?
Because,
Yes, ma'am.
So, and this may be a question for Donald too, but he's got water distribution level 3.
So which list are you on?
The one up
You're
here.
on the one in the
Yep.
book. I mean, in the packet.
So his water distribution level 3, which Terry signed off on in 2024, but he's got a no under pay updated in Edmonds. Does that mean he got paid for that certification?
So if it's a no, I can't find the paperwork, number one, and then following the paper trail compared to, because Edmonds, you can only see notes. It doesn't state what it's for. It's not a actual HRIS system. So if I could not figure out the paper trail from that, even though there was a PAF, but the numbers didn't add up on the additional PAFs, yes, they may have had a PAF submitted, but it never made it to Infomark.
That seems to be a standard problem. Nobody ever gave it to the people that made it happen.
so you looked at the amount that he was making prior to the certification, and then you looked at the amount that he was making after certification?
Yes, so
was there a difference?
no. So for example, I don't know the specifics on each one of these. I looked at so many of them. So let's just say this one said he was making $26.16. It jumped him to $27.17, but then the PAF before it matched up. But the PAF after it was the previous, like the 2016 for maybe an increase for budget approval. So that raise never officially happened on paper, and then I followed the paper trail to add it up to see what was in Edmonds, and that's how I came to that conclusion. So whatever their current rate of pay was in Edmonds, either I deducted it or I added it to see where the mix-up happened, and if the number was the same following through, but this one still said that, he was supposed to get paid $26.16, but then the following PAF with the budget adjustment showed making $26.16, and let's just say there's a 3% raise, just for safe math, so it'd be 2016 to 26.19. It shows that he never received that dollar, because the following PAF did not have a dollar increase. It only had the budget adjustment or whatever followed after that.
So we owe him a dollar. Is what you're saying?
Quite possibly.
It looks like we might.
Yes, depending on if it was approved.
Was that a certificate or was that a certification?
It's a license.
That's a state license.
Oh, that's the OSHA.
Held, no, ma'am. Held by DEP, Department of
Which one
Environmental
I'm looking
Protection.
at? I'm looking at OSHA. It's no problem.
Well, she's
Alex,
looking.
right?
But see, he's got on the top one. She's all the way down here. This one is in that.
Oh.
OSHA, you probably don't. OSHA is like required, and nobody gets paid for that.
We are not under OSHA standards, so it's great that people have the training, but it's not applicable to
Yeah, a
municipal.
lot of these guys, like I said, don't get paid. Will never get paid.
Okay.
Because either they don't apply to their job, or they're just something they did to improve their job. But these are state licenses down here, and they have no name. This is the one that I'm printed it at home.
Gotcha.
Sorry, but it's right
okay.
there. But it's right there. You can see it. See at the very bottom of the page, water distribution level 3 and wastewater collection class C. They both say no, and the one was signed off on here. And like Kim said, she traced it. She never found his home. So, I know this is going to sound crazy, but can you bring us a list of ones that need to be paid? Take off all the ones that aren't a certificate or a certification that they're going to get $1 for it, and let the department head decide that. You know.
Yes, ma'am.
And
I can do that.
I mean, narrow it down so that we can actually look. And I think we need to decide whether it's for a non-exempt or an exempt employee. And were they exempt when it was on here? Because like the one we just looked at for Alex, he was not exempt when he got that.
Right.
You can tell by looking at the date. He may be exempt now, but he wasn't then.
So I want to remind everybody that if you go back and listen to the Shade meeting, I believe it was recorded by the clerk in 2023.
Yeah, that's low.
The union asked for a policy that was already in place to be put into the CBA. That was already practice. It had been practice. You can find PAFs well before some of us were employed here that licenses, CDLs, things of that nature required $1 increase. That far exceeds even Jonathan's tenure. The other point is that if you go back to, for example, Latricia and Terry's former evaluations last year, there was discussions not only about raises, but if you go back and listen to your minutes, you're going to find out that you also mentioned with both of them that if they went out and got a license, like she was getting her clerk stuff, that there would be $1 honored. And the council stated at that time, because we can't treat one employee different than the other simply because they're exempt versus non-exempt. So I just want to make you aware that that's all on YouTube and all on recording when you make that decision, because we have past practice. That's all I would want to point out.
That's why I asked for a legal opinion.
My understanding is that your CBA does not apply to your exempt employees. I can get a second opinion on that. Again, this is not my wheelhouse. Labor law is its own very complicated beast, but I can absolutely get an opinion.
And then I guess we need to go back to the HR manual and see if it is there written in that manner. And if so, it would have applied before it got moved over.
So
but if it's not there, like I said, I've got that on my...
The HR manual does address tuition reimbursement and certifications, and if it's signed off by a department head, it doesn't state exempt or non-exempt.
Does it talk about $1?
It doesn't talk about $1. It just states that if it's approved by a department head, that reimbursement will occur.
I mean, like a tuition reimbursement is totally different. That's like
yeah,
college.
definitely totally different.
That's totally different. And I'm asking if the state licenses, if it says in there anywhere that we'll get $1.
No.
Then I don't know how we can say it was past practice and it was moved in because the CBA asked for it.
If there would be a PAF, then it is a past practice. It's a written document. Unfortunately, due process, I've learned a lot, not just about CBA, but unfortunately with due process,
I said I'll have to think how I feel about that.
Yeah, but with due process isn't just giving justice to a person. When you look it up as it's applicable to labor law, it includes past practice also.
Yeah, I've done HR as well too, so I am aware of that. But I'm also saying, don't tell me it was there and maybe ask to add it if it wasn't there. And if it is there, show it.
I don't believe
That's
the $1
saying.
in
That's
there.
the question I'm asking.
So if it wasn't there, it was placed there.
Well, they bargained for it. They bargained for it, and we put it there. But was it there before? I don't know. Like I said, I have the old HR manual here. I can look.
Yeah, the old HR manual talks about, I don't know if it says exempt. I haven't really seen it. I've seen the piece of paper that it discussed about this, like somebody pulled it out, and it states about some 80% rule applicable to your job, something along those lines.
Yep. Just want to get them paid if we owe it to them. And let's narrow it down to the ones we do owe. The ones that you're not going to pay because they're not something we pay for. Let's take them off. and not bill,
Take
but
that amount,
that sort of
that thing off.
Take that line off, and leave it to the
So
ones
it's clear
that
cut.
were approved that hadn't been paid that we might need to consider. That would make it easier for me. I don't know about anybody else.
I agree. Because as you can see, I was already confused. Like, what's this mean? So yeah.
Miss
So we
Meredith
just
wants
need
to ask
to
a
know
question.
exactly. Absolutely, Miss Meredith.
Hang on a second. Nope, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. You got the floor.
Okay, my question is, I'll go ahead and do both of them, so you don't have to be burdened with getting me on again. But my first one is for Kiersten, regarding, obviously we've got some issues with setting precedent, even in this meeting, with decisions that we make in this meeting, and it would be worth, as much as I hate to kick this down the road for another meeting, but making sure that we're not setting precedent that then we have to, deal with later on. And people coming and saying, well, you agreed to do this at this meeting, so now you have to do it, in perpetuity. And then secondly, like, if we make a decision at this meeting, how quickly can we update the HR manual and our employee policy to make sure that from, how quickly can we get clarity for the employees and for the council and for the residents about what we are in fact paying for? And does there need to be, I've never updated been present for updating the employee HR manual, so I'm just not sure how that process works.
So updating the HR manual is a relatively simple process once we know what we want to update it to say. It's just a resolution that you all would adopt changes to your HR manual. So that doesn't require any crazy hoop jumping. It doesn't provide us with clarification on the wording of the CBA, which is, just as a reminder, is license and or certification. Updating the HR manual would not provide us clarity for the CBA, because the CBA trumps where it conflicts with the HR manual for the employees that the CBA covers. The question that you asked regarding setting precedent, generally speaking, and you've heard me say this before and I'll say it again, what you do for one, you must do for all, or else you put yourself in a situation of potential liability, unless you can articulate a really compelling reason why you would not do that. So I am not sure what that particularly compelling reason would be, but that is the general rule, is that unless you have a really good reason to treat one employee different than another employee, what you do for one, you must do for all of them.
And I guess more specifically, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess more specifically, per Donald's point, that in the past at a city hall meeting, council said, oh, we're going to, my concern is that what is said and decided on tonight, how quickly can we change? I mean, obviously, very pro paying people who deserve to be paid and met the criteria that was formally established, but there is a lot of gray area, and my concern with the decision tonight is that we don't create more gray area going forward. So I guess I'm looking for guidance on how to establish from this point forward the best clarity for the city from a budgetary perspective, legal perspective, and for the employees, so that they truly can understand what their options are when they come in for getting raises, for, getting certifications, and so forth and so on.
So on a go-forward basis, the best way to provide clarity is you all have discussed some changes that you'd like to your CBA. Your HR policy should have similar language regarding, to the extent possible. Obviously, the CBA's got certain provisos that the HR policy will not, specific to a dollar, etc. But if we're going to define licenses and certifications, it would certainly be a good idea to have that mirrored across your HR policy and your CBA to the extent possible. The CBA changes are much more complicated to do. You have to get the agreement of the union in order to make those changes. But if you have the agreement of the union, then it's not terribly complicated to do.
So if we go through and put in the HR manual for each specific job or department, what is required related to certifications, even though the CBA may say you would get $1 for this certification, if you go back and look in HR policy and that's not one of, you can't do it that way.
So no, your CBA will have to be more specific than your HR policy.
No, I'm talking about HR policy.
So the CBA has to be.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
Right,
Gotcha.
right. The CBA can't say licenses and certifications, and then the HR policy says, but really only these ones. It would be fine if it were the opposite. Mm-hmm. If the CBA said these certain requirements and licenses, and then the HR policy was more general, that would create a conflict, but the other way does.
Any further discussion on this item?
Just on the list of the ones you think we owe. Yeah.
Right. So Kim, you're going to get back with us with a more specific and list of who actually is supposed to have be repaid.
Yes, I will get with the department heads to figure out what is on that list.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Please have, this will be for Kim, please have this done for the next meeting. Because I know with Coke Curdy we're dealing with 6 weeks. But have the information that was requested.
Okay.
I've done that.
Yeah, I think we've done it 3 times.
Yeah. I think
yeah,
we're
but the
talking about
first
the new
time,
people.
yes, I'm
We
just
just
asking
did
for that to
the
be
first
done. First time we did it with Cody and them, we came to the next meeting. It wasn't ready, so we bumped it to another 2 weeks. All I'm asking for is just have it done, so we're not picking, as Meredith says, kicking down the road.
Can I have 100%
I agree, but we also have to
clarity of what we're asking for? That way I can do it in a one-shot, one-kill type fashion.
On the 6-page list that was in the packet, what I'd like to see is take off the ones you have no intention of paying for it. And then they say no because you're not going to pay them. So take them off. The ones you think do need to be paid, and the department head agrees, and Ms. Sue agrees, then leave those on there, and we'll know what we're really looking at.
And to clarify, just from me, is that under the current CBA as it stands, which ones does Kim believe are reimbursable and not reimbursable? Is that the request? Just to be specific.
It's got to be the past one and the present one, since we've changed in the middle.
Okay, so Kim, you'll need to refer to the other one too.
Do you want financial information as well?
No. I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to, I won't say trust, but I'm not going to take any financial information that doesn't come from Stephen's payroll.
That's what I'm asking, if you want it from Stephen.
Oh yeah, if you can get it from Stephen, that would be wonderful.
Because in the last go-around with all these different times it's been here, there hasn't been 100% clarity. That's why we keep coming back. So that's why I'm asking for clarity now.
Yep.
Stephen.
Some of them, well, the ones that we're looking at are from like 23.
23, right?
Yeah, from 2023. If they haven't been paid up to 2023, I don't think we need to pay them. That's when it was included in the CBA contract.
Ms. Jones, you have PAFs that were prior to that, but the raise never occurred. But you have signed off PAFs prior to 23.
So give me an example.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
I mean, show me on this list is what I'm trying to say.
All right. How about gas license? And the date's wrong on it. It was 3/19 of 2019 under me.
Under which person?
I was an hourly employee.
Yes, you were in 219.
Correct.
I agree.
Until May 13th of 2021. I have a PAF. It was never done. Jonathan has a PAF, I think, in 06. That's another one I can give you. If you look at Jonathan's column. Jonathan Bishop had one in 2000. I'm sorry, it was 2000.
So do we know why?
I'm sorry?
Do we know why that occurred?
No. No idea.
I mean, is it...
Am I still on? Sorry.
Yes.
Kiersten, I spoke to you about, there was a statute of limitations when we spoke about this that you discussed. Can you refresh my memory?
So generally speaking, regarding unpaid wages, there is and it can be different under contractual, so it can depend on what the previous versions of the CBA have said, and I'm not privy to those. But generally speaking, between 2 and 4 years of back pay is the statute of limitations on reimbursement of unpaid wages. There are a variety of factors which determine what that statute of limitations is.
Thank you.
Also, we have an employee who is no longer employed with us, who has requested to be reimbursed for a certification. And if it does end up that we did pay, that is a cert that the department head says is paid for, that request is starting to come in. Just an FYI.
If that's the case, I think that would have to go to arbitration. Because that's the way the collective bargaining agreement is written.
Kiersten?
I don't know that I'm not sure if arbitration and grievances are an available recourse for terminated employees.
No longer employed employees.
Because I just simply haven't reviewed the CBA close enough to determine if
Some
that
of them
would
are still in arbitration. I bet
retroactively.
this is somebody who's still in arbitration.
There are arbitrations that are currently.
Yeah, and I bet this is one of them. I mean, I could pretty much tell you who that is without her even telling me.
Negative, not that individual.
I'm thinking
it's not that individual.
I don't know who the individual is, but
DL? No.
Maybe we should have a meeting specifically about this. It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Yes,
There's a
ma'am.
lot that needs to be figured out. Yeah. Come on back up. Yes, ma'am. It's just too much.
I'm just going to give another example. I'm not really going to try to open that can of worms, but so next week will be 5 years that I've been employed here. CJ was the one and Jonathan were the ones that hired me. I was hired in, as embarrassed as I am, at $11.61 to go to $12.61 when I got my CDL within the first 6 months of working here. CJ took it upon himself for myself, and I know for sure Joey Whitehead as well, to kick us down to $10.60. Take $1 away, and then when we got our CDL, put us back to what we were hired at from day one. So we worked for $10.61 until we got our CDL, and then he put us to the $11.61 that he originally hired us at. So we worked the entire time.
I know somebody else who did that too, and they quit 3 days after he hired them because he did that.
Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you, I had conversations about it, and I was told that you agreed to work here, and this is the price. So I'm just letting you know that, there's been other practices. I mean, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it or anything, but there's been other practices that, never happened as well.
I've seen some of the PAFs, and it's true.
Well, when we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it. And this many years later, there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
We're trying to correct some of it. Yeah. It's not going to be 100%, but we are doing our best, and we just have to make sure that we do things differently from now.
And there's definitely no way I'm going back to 2016, I can tell you.
All right. We're going to, any other discussion on this topic?
I'm sorry. I hate to bring it up. I'm sorry. But just for clarification for Kim, so do you want, I mean, Jonathan's got ones back here to 2005, 2001, 1999.
We can discuss that at a different time, because kind of already just.
But I mean, do you want her to
decided
take that
that.
off the list because those are outside of the statute of limitations and only go back, say, 4 years? Because that will reduce this list.
Verify the statute of limitations, and if it's stated in that way, that's what I would do. If you've already done that, that's
So
great.
she can do that, but as soon as Kiersten has verified and hopefully call her and talk to her, then she can modify what she's done. Is that okay, Kim?
Yes. Are we going to be able to make the 2 weeks?
My recommendation would be that we go with 4 years. 4 years is the outside on that, and whether it's 2 or 4 depends a lot on the specific situation and the individual, and there's no way for me to have
4 is great, even 5.
Just to get a sense of it.
4.
Okay.
So 4 years and forward.
Sounds
Final answer.
Yes, please.
From
Okay.
the attorney, yes.
How's Meredith feel about it?
Meredith?
I think that's great. I think thank you for thinking of me. I think that's great. I just think we really need to protect ourselves from any arbitrary decisions that we make in these meetings because there's, like I said, already so much gray area. So I really think we should lean on the legal side of this so we don't end up in court over it.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, the next one, which is the last one, discussion with possible action, Kurt Williams and Cody certification. I'm not going to do it. Back pay information, Director Kim Troy.
So what you have in front of you is the payout that Steven has come up with. We did talk to Kurt and Cody. They agreed with this number. The PAFs were submitted today to Infomark to update their pay to what Steven has listed as the revised date, because it goes all the way up to 9/5, which brings everybody current. Also, Steven figured out that up to a certain date, they could be paid under the threshold of $10,000 for Kurt, and then $5,000 for Cody. It's maybe going to be left for Kurt, Steven, 15,000 and some change. Pretty close. And then for Cody, it will be 7,500 some change to fully back pay them is what is left. And once this is approved, we can get the PAFs going to finish the back pay.
And their back pay is within the 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion from the public? Council?
Yeah, I would say pay them. I would ask if they want to break it up again, so that under that $10,000 threshold again, instead of giving it all to them at one time, so they have to pay. He's shaking his head yes. That'll probably help us too to spread it out a little bit.
Steven, I need new dates.
Anything else?
So if we do it this way, they'll get more back pay next pay, and then it'll be the following pay.
Excellent. So then we'll have to pay as
but
much
there'll only
tax.
be one that has to go.
Yes.
Another
yes.
pay period or whatever it is.
And their rate of pay has already changed?
It was submitted to Infomark today.
Wonderful.
Payroll, it got submitted with payroll today.
Perfect. Thank you. So you want a motion or just going to have consensus? What do you want?
I do the motion. Memorialize.
Okay. I move that we pay Kurt and Cody their back pay in 3 increments under the $10,000 cap.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clarification, any other conversation from the public? Any from the council? I have a question. Because you said we're going to pay them in 3 increments, but only one person needs 3 increments, and the other does not. So we just need to specify.
Well, the 1 in 3, only one has that much money. Right. So, yeah. The other would be only 2.
But I just want to make sure we're not breaking up his last half into 3 as well.
We won't break Cody's into 3.
Okay.
Only in 2. Up to $10,000.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes 3-0. All right. So now this is your second. Now this is the second. This is the second time for public participation. You have 5 minutes to speak on anything that was not covered on the agenda. Anyone have anything? Going once? No? All right. So we're going to go to announcements. Does staff have any announcements? Yes, Mr. Barber.
Miss Latricia's not here, and she's always our reminder about all the things coming up. I know that this weekend we have Fiesta coming up, and I know that then in less than a month, I think it's 3 weeks, we have the Peanut Festival coming up. And she would also encourage us to buy one of the chamber tickets where only 300 were printed. I'm regurgitating this from what she told me. They're $10, and you can win $2,000. So please buy a ticket from the chamber.
I would also say that we've got legislative committee meetings that we're going to next weekend.
We also have the final trim public hearing next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Yeah, next Wednesday.
I guess the 26th or 27th when we do that.
And I have one more announcement, I'm sorry. And I want to also ask for thoughts and prayers. Walt will be out for a few weeks, and I just want to, you can see all the work that he puts into the city. And so I just want to make sure everybody keeps him in their thoughts and prayers over the next couple weeks.
Thank you. So let us know how it goes. And I have stupid questions, so I know this is not the place for them, but I'd like to ask them.
Sure. Go ahead.
We already did the Cornelius Williams. That was the first thing on my list. Can somebody give me a Block 12 update? Some days they work, some days they don't.
So we're on schedule, to the schedule that was submitted. Sewer has been completely laid. And I believe all of the customers have actually even been hooked up to the new sewer system. Gas for future and the current one gas customer has been laid and in a similar ditch. It hasn't been hooked up yet, but that will come a little bit later on the schedule. This week, they have been working on attaching the new water main that goes through the parking lot and doing that tap there on the corner right there by Melanie's. And so this is a lot of the underground electric conduit will be the next phase, as well as the telecommunications conduit throughout it. And once the bulk of that is finished, then we will actually begin to, from the public's viewpoint, see progress. I think it's over the next month and a half to 2 months that we could begin to close some of that up on the schedule, and then probably about 3.5 months, I think, is when we're looking at getting pavement and getting everything kind of resurfaced and cleaned up, and it's going to actually start looking like it's new design.
So is January the date, or is it past that?
It's middle of January for everything other than irrigation and the sodding to take place.
Okay. I knew that was the schedule. I was told it was on schedule.
Yes.
People are asking. So
and we've been assured that the the manhole there on Southwest First Ave will not interfere with that schedule.
Perfect. And the arcade, thank you for taking the sign off the gate, by the way, that's been up there for months, that people thought they owned it. When are those gates open? Who opens and closes those?
So the reason why the gates are closed is because they only lead back to the construction zone. So the arcade would begin to be reopened after the project closes out and the construction fencing comes down.
And we open the front, close the back.
Unfortunately, you want to make sure that someone's not leaning up against that gate while work would be being done, and it would prevent some sort of liability. And the gate for some very small children is questionable in the backside to whether or not they can squeeze through.
People are also asking why it's closed. Obviously, it's got a parking lot being built. Maybe we should put up a sign that says closed due to construction.
Yes, ma'am.
Or something crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
I could definitely post that on Facebook. And I want to know what's going on with the awning. I don't know. I was told that.
So that was discussed at the CRA meeting as well. The CRA only received $10,000, and that was the max. There was even a postponement of what the plan was because they were saying there's a possible opportunity to go after assets of the offending party. That was looked into. There's nothing to go after.
Yeah.
So after coming to that conclusion in Monday's meeting of last week, the CRA voted to spend the funds to demolition the areas that were affected and tear them down. The hope is that when the two corner lots are redeveloped, that what they would do is make sure that the new development plans for those properties would have the awning and continuing it or whatever design that they would approach to addressing that transition.
Okay, so the secondary plan that we had seen about taking down the 3 posts and the awning over the top
has been
They're
approved.
going to proceed with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. The other question I had, somebody asked me the signs that are above the top that have the names of the businesses on it. Do you have any idea where those were made?
We have that workbook from Ulrich. We
Okay.
have the sign developer. If any new company comes in on one of those spaces, we can provide them that information through the planning department.
Yep.
And then they can order something very similar. And if they don't want to go with that company, they can get the design standards and take them to another company to be replicated.
Okay, it was the quilt shop that had asked me that.
Yes,
So, I appreciate it. I'll let her know that. That's all I have. Sorry. You sure? Yeah, I know. I learned all kinds of stuff. And so did you.
I asked Nikki today to reach out to Steve McMillan and see if he can come and give us a quarterly update on what the CRA is doing. I know maybe Laura did that previously, but we're going to reach out to him tomorrow. See if we'll do that.
They used to come once a month and give us a report. I mean, quarterly is fine too, but and the planning and zoning chair used to come. They both came. Was it the first meeting of every month? I think that's when they used to come. But you know.
Anyone else? If not, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
Did he make the motion? I made
Yeah.
the motion too.
I know you did. You said so moved, so I was waiting on him to second it.
I will second it.
So we have a first and a second, a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ooh. Meeting is adjourned at what time you have, sir?